Good evening and welcome. This is a regular meeting of the Princeton Planning Board on Thursday, May 28, 2026. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the resolution of regularly scheduled meetings of this board for February 2026 through January 2027. A copy was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on January 14, 2026. Legal notice on the adoption of said resolution was published in the January 16th, 2026 edition of the Princeton Packet. Notice of this meeting has also been posted to the municipal website, princetonnj.gov/calendar. Notice that all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Planning Board will be held electronically via Zoom, was transmitted to the Princeton Packet and the Times, and was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on Tuesday, January 14, 2026. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. During hearings on applications for development, members of the public will have an opportunity to comment and ask questions. Public comment is heard by the board after an applicant's representatives have finished their presentations and have been questioned by planning board members and staff. Those wishing to comment orally when the time comes should virtually raise your hand by clicking on the reactions or raise hand icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or if participating by phone, by pressing *9. Oral comments will be taken in the order in which hands were raised. We ask with respect that members of the public express your views in 3 minutes or less. A countdown clock on your screen will help speakers keep track of time. Please note that speakers who exceed 3 minutes will be interrupted. Inappropriate public comment containing obscenity, hate speech, or relating to matters not before the board will be muted. Ms. Battle, call the roll, please.
Mr. Boddingheimer,
Here.
Councilman Cohen,
Here.
Mayor Frida, Mr. McGowan,
Here.
Ms. Nuka,
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Here.
Ms. Perlmutter,
Here.
Ms. Swimmer, Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Ms. Wilson Anderson,
Here.
Chair Wilson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Announcements. Any announcements by board members or staff? Justin? Okay. Subcommittee reports. I understand we have a report from the Landscape Subcommittee. Will that be delivered by you, Pallavi, or someone else?
I'm happy to deliver the report. I don't, Justin, unless someone else was going to deliver it. No. Okay.
I think that's you.
Can.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Landscape Subcommittee met last Monday morning to discuss the proposal by Eden's, which is the management of the shopping center. They had a proposal for the landscaping around the transformer, which will be going up on Harrison Road near the entrance by Nomad Pizza. The Landscape Subcommittee largely accepted the plan that Eden's presented, with some small changes on the varieties and species of the plants that they were using. We also recommended that they use London plane trees, which are a hybrid of European and American sycamores rather than American sycamores alone, given that many of the sycamore trees along the Harrison Street seem to be doing poorly this season. Is there anything else I should add to that report, Madam Chair?
No, not that I know. I think that the applicant had proposed liriope around a power, what's the word? A transformer box. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the committee recommended a different approach.
Yes, the committee recommended that they use inkberry mix of, which is a native plant in the area instead of Valero.
Yeah.
And Eden's management, the applicant agreed to these changes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um,
Madam Chair?
next, yes.
Sorry, just wanted to let the record reflect that Ms. Schwimmer has logged on.
Thank you. I noticed that and meant to say so, and so thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next up, we have a resolution. This relates to the Stephen Wasco minor subdivision extension of time. The address is 561 and 537 Stockton Street, file P2323-368MS. Any suggestions or comments on the resolution? And if not, would someone like to move it?
I'll move the resolution.
Thanks, Mr. O'Donnell. I saw you lean forward, Mr. Cohen. Is that a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Thank you. Deidre, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bodenheimer,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Nuka,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Perlmutter,
Yes.
Ms. Swimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Chair Wilson.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Next up, we have an application that I understand will be carried, but I'll read it into the record. This is an application of Adarsh K. Bahaj, a modification of condition of subdivision approval. The address is 1735 Stewart Road West, block 3401, lot 1.03, zone RA of the former township and R1 of the former township. The file number is P2525-700SP. Mr. Lesko, would you like to tell us what to expect?
Yes, thank you,
Maybe
Madam Chair.
If you're clairvoyant.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant has requested that this be carried to the July 16th meeting, regularly scheduled meeting of the board, where we will hold the hearing. There will be no further notice since we're carrying it to a date certain.
Okay. Good, July 16th. And we don't need any comment on jurisdiction or, well, you already mentioned notice. We have jurisdiction because it's been carried. So all of that is
Yes, right.
squared away. Okay, good. July 16th. Next up, we have continuation of the application from Toll NJ1 LLC. This was carried from May 7th, 2026. It is a preliminary and final major site development approval at 29 Thanet Circle, block 5502, lot 5, zone AH14. And the file number is P2525-712P. I think I recall we were going to pick up with testimony from the architect, but Foot, do you want to say anything before then? I understand also there were some outstanding questions that that maybe the applicant has addressed, but not necessarily with staff.
Yeah, so all I'll say is that the applicant did submit or rather the applicant's engineer submitted a response letter dated May 14th, 2026. That is online with the rest of the application materials. It was posted pretty much as soon as we got it. They also provided a 3-sheet exhibit showing some modifications that they had made. If I recall correctly, there was a bicycle rack, a new bicycle rack that had been added. They identified the locations of the parking spaces for the affordable units, the designated surface spaces, and they identified changed ADA locations, ADA parking space locations. But besides that, that's what we have new from the last application. The last time we heard this application on May 7th.
Nathan, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if anybody else is.
I'm hearing the echo as well. Nathan, are you at the office and close to maybe somebody else who's also logged in or anything like that? No?
Nope, I am not.
I noticed that when Jack Taylor muted himself, the echo went away. It was strange.
What can I
Okay,
say?
so a blanket suggestion for all who are not preparing to speak. Maybe we can all mute ourselves. I will do so as soon as testimony starts. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, if it's the board's pleasure to start with that site plan and just clarify any last issues with those parking spaces. I know that was an issue at the last hearing with the ADA spaces. So if we want to start there, we can start there, or if we want to start with the architect, we could also whatever the board's pleasure is and whatever Mr. Tarr would like to do. But that's all I have at this point.
Nathan, just a clarification. Was that presented as exhibit? Are they actually modified site plan plans?
So it's only right. So it's only 3 sheets. So and they identified them as exhibits in their response letter. So that's why we're classifying those as exhibits at this point. Any changes to those that have been made and that are accepted by the board would need to be added to the approved plans during resolution compliance if the board looks favorably upon the application.
Okay, and so should we treat them as exhibits A2, 3, and 4? How are they treated in the submission? As one exhibit A2, or maybe they don't even label it.
Sorry, say that last part.
Maybe they don't even label it. Do they label it as?
No, so they. I guess we can wait until we get to the testimony and then figure it out. That's how I would proceed, because as of right now, they're posted online. We do have them on record.
Okay, that sounds good.
Councilman Cohen?
I just wanted to ask, there was one other item that stuck out in my mind that they had undertaken to modify, which was the landing points of the path that crosses the waterway. And I was wondering if that was not addressed in the plan, since you didn't mention it, Nathan. Was it not addressed in the letter, or?
I know it wasn't addressed. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was it.
Okay, so I know it wasn't addressed in the letter. I will leave it to the applicant's professionals to identify additional changes that I did not mention during that little introduction.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Tarr, as Nathan Foote suggested, can we start by just reviewing the high points of the response letter and the changes that are being proposed to the plan having to do with parking spots and the other matters he described?
Absolutely. So thank you for having us. I wanted to start by reminding you of where we started the last time. This application is the first of the 11 projects which the governing body has decided will be brought before the board to meet the municipality's obligations regarding affordable housing in the 4th round required by the state. It comes before you with its own zoning. Ms. Gribben testified at the last hearing that it complies with that zoning. And so we're doing a site plan review. Because there was enough time to both work up the site plan changes and get them to the board 10 days prior to tonight, we have done that. And we're going to ask Daniel Sainal, the engineer who was previously sworn, to come back before the board and describe the changes that were made on the site plan that was sent to the office. Jerry, I'd recommend that all three sheets be characterized as A2. They're not part of the original deck, which was A1.
It's fine.
Dan, if you're ready.
I'm sorry, before we go further, Jerry, did we need to swear anybody in, or is it carried over from the last hearing?
It's carried over.
Okay.
No one needs to be sworn in at this point.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, Dan.
Hi, good evening again, Chairman, members of the board. Again, for the record, Daniel Chanel, principal of the firm Dynamic Engineering. I understand that I'm still under oath and my license is still valid and in good standing. So I'll be really brief. As you've heard, we did have an opportunity to make some revisions. We understood the comments that were received by the board at the last hearing. We want to have an opportunity to go in and hopefully address some of those concerns and comments to the satisfaction of the board. So with that being said, I will take a moment to share my screen here. So what you should see before you is the overall site plan exhibit that was recently resubmitted back to the board. It is, again, titled Overall Site Plan Exhibit. It is a sheet 1 of 3, dated May 13th, 2026. And I believe we're identifying this as Exhibit A2, along with the other two exhibits. And I just want to note, the other two exhibits are just the zoomed in version of the top portion of the site and bottom portion of the site. I only planned on pulling those up if there's really detailed information needed. So I'll just focus on this one for now, and again, identifying this as Exhibit A2. So we had an opportunity to take a look at the ADA parking. As you previously may recall, we previously had the 2 required ADA spaces located right up here near the proposed playground. There was concerns with the location of them, grouping them together, and also having them further away from the proposed COA units. So we took a closer look, and what we did is we went down from 2 spaces by the playground, and we actually relocated one of them to the, I guess it would be northwest from the playground, directly adjacent to Building I. So now we have one handicap compliant space right here, and the other one right over by the playground. Those are the 2 spaces that are required, but also we heard concerns that there was no spaces provided at the front of the site, in front of the stream. So if I circulate down to the southeast portion of the site, we've also added a 3rd handicap compliant space adjacent to Building D. So now not only do we meet the ADA requirement of having 2 spaces, we exceed it by providing a 3rd, and we've also scattered them throughout the site to hopefully address some of the concerns with the location of them. We felt that keeping one up by the playground made the most sense because, one, there provides a crosswalk that doubles for the accessible route from that space. And since that playground is meant to be a community area, we wanted to make sure that we had an accessible parking space near the entrance to the playground. So that was one revision we made. The other thing that we mentioned in testimony was that the 7 COA units that do not have a garage, that they would have designated parking spaces. So these purple hatched areas that you see, there's 4 spaces directly to the southwest of the playground, and then adjacent to Building I, there's an additional 3. Those are the 7 spaces that will be reserved for the COA units that do not have a garage. We didn't plan on striping them or anything like that. They're just hatched on here to identify it, and we would just have signage located in front of the space identifying that they are reserved parking spaces for those units. In addition to that, we noted that the sidewalk that crosses the stream, there was no direct route. If you recall, the sidewalks really went to the front steps of a couple of these units. It was a really good point that was made. So now we've kind of altered the route of the sidewalk. We're keeping the bridge where it is because, again, it's in the conservation easement. We can't really touch that or change the location of it. So that's staying in the same spot, but we now are kind of meandering the sidewalk so it connects to more common areas and doesn't lead right up to people's front porches for those units. And then finally, we also took an opportunity to provide some bike sharrows along the main access drive that goes from the front of the site, crosses the stream, and goes to the rear. So as you can see, keeping with the theme on Senate Circle with the bike boulevard, we also provided the same sharrows on the main drive that goes to the rear of the site. So as you follow this up to the east, you'll see that these sharrows continue right to the rear of the site, just to provide some additional visibility, calling out that this is meant to be a shared road for both pedestrians and bicyclists, or I'm sorry, vehicles and bicyclists, to provide some more awareness that bikes could be on this road. So that was the gist of the main changes since you've last heard from us. Mr. Tar, if I missed anything, feel free to redirect me. If not, I make myself available for any questions the board may have.
Those were our takeaways from the meeting, and I think you've done a good job of explaining them. But questions from the board?
Jim Purcell has his hand up. Jim?
Yeah, Dana, back to the parking. We've just recently learned of a DCA requirement that you must have at least one EV charging station that is handicap accessible. So that's a modification that you're going to need to make.
Yes, you are correct. We can, we'll absolutely make that one of them handicap.
And I also want to point out that DCA's interpretation is that handicap accessible space is in addition to any required spaces. But since you already have 3 and you only need 2, you're okay. So if ADA says that you need 2, you need to add 1, and it doesn't count toward the original ADA 2. That was something we just learned a couple of weeks ago.
Understood. I mean, we could certainly provide one in the open air portion, but I also want to note that the COA unit that has the van accessible parking space within it, so the ADA space in the garage for the COA unit, that is also an EV space. So that may satisfy the DCA requirement, but I don't think there will be an issue since we had a third one by adding one additional charging space for the exterior ADA parking location.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Other questions, Ms. Wilson?
Just a quick question about the location of the sharrows. I don't know whether or not, I guess this is not a municipal road. It's a driveway. And so if it were a bike boulevard, and I could be wrong about this, I'm sure Mr. Purcell knows for certain, would the sharrows be more toward the middle of a lane and not over on the side?
That would be preferable, that the sharrows be actually in the middle of the lane. They do represent a shared roadway for bicycles and motor vehicles. So the policy is that we put them in the center of the lane, not to the right as you're showing them. So
understood. That's not a problem.
That's a striping issue. Yep.
Good. Thanks.
Good point, Chair Wilson. I meant to say that too after I finished my ADA thing.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Okay, seeing none, and thank you for that review and for the changes. Mr. Tar, do you want to introduce your next witness?
You bet. So the next witness is our architect, James Sigranuk is here. Jim?
Yes, hi.
If Jim could be sworn.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give be the truth?
I do.
You also want to affirm. Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Okay, my name's James Desgranic. D as in David, Z, I-E-G-R-E-N-U-K.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. So as to qualify you, you're a licensed architect in New Jersey.
I am a licensed architect in New Jersey.
You're a member of the AIA.
I am.
And, you hold NCARB certificate.
I do.
And you're an employee of Toll Brothers, and your assignment tonight is to explain stacked townhomes, that is to say the exterior and the interiors of these buildings, some of which are quite unusual. You're familiar with the product
I certainly am. Yep.
and you're prepared to explain it to us on
Yes.
behalf of Toll Brothers.
That is my intention for tonight.
Jim is offered as an expert with respect to these units.
Couple of real quick questions. If you could just tell us a little bit about your education, and also I'm unfamiliar with NCARB. So out of curiosity, could you tell me what that
Uh,
stands
Okay, sure. Well, I'll start with my education. So I did go to Temple University. I have a bachelor's in architecture, graduated in 2005. So been practicing architecture for a little bit over 21 years. To your NCARB question, that's something that, it's been around for a while. It's the National Accreditation of Architectural Registration Boards. It is basically it works in conjunction with AIA. So AIA is a professional membership, which everyone is familiar with. NCARB is a Washington, D.C. based registration board holder. It is where they provide it's sort of like a holder of your licenses, as you will. So if I basically want to apply for a membership or apply for architectural registration in another state, I go through them, and they will hold. So basically, when I apply to the state, I upload my NCARB file, and because they hold my registrations, and then that allows me to, apply for architecture. They also do other things like
You don't need to go any further.
Yeah,
I
it's just like
appreciate the explanation.
Yeah.
I probably should have, seen it before and noticed it before I was asking.
more
Anyway, we
architects-
accept your qualifications.
more architects are having that after their last name. They also do,
Okay.
accreditation now, they help you with accreditation and stuff like that. But
Okay.
So
Thanks.
now Jim is going to go back to our Exhibit A1, which is a slide deck that was introduced last time. And we have a series of drawings which show the building's exterior and interior. And I remind the board that this stacked townhome arrangement has the units aren't stacked one over the other as conventional design, but they're sort of interleaved. And Jim is going to explain that to us.
yes. Okay, I guess I'll start with sharing my screen. I'll pull up that presentation that we had up last time. Is everyone able to see this?
Yes.
All right, doing good so far. Okay,
As you
so
go through this, if you could tell us what slide this is from A1.
okay, yeah, this is slide 13. I think I have it here.
Oh, yeah, great.
Most of them have them in the corner here. So yeah, starting with slide 13. It is right after the last site plan. Sorry, I'm zooming out. So let me just start by saying that my intention for this architectural extra testimony is to, again, as Christopher has mentioned, just to walk you through these first set of renderings. So we're going to start with the exterior renderings, then go on to the 2D elevations and then onto the floor plans, which, then once we get to the floor plans, we can talk about the bedroom counts and units and what we have. But the first part of this presentation that I have is going to be more about the exterior design and the layout. So, as was mentioned previously, there are a total of 85 residential units in this community that we're proposing across 10 buildings. Of those 85 units, 17 will be restrictive. And again, we'll get into the layouts of the differences between the market rates and the restrictive units. 68, that means 68 will be sold as market rate units. 2 of those 10 buildings are house all 17 of the restrictive units. So one building has 9 restrictive, the other has 8. So we'll start with the first page of the architectural testimony. This is building C. If I flip back to the old site plan, sorry, the old site plan up here. This is, the rendering that we were just looking at is the largest building of 14 units on the site. It's a market rate building, and you are sorry. So yeah, this is Stanett Circle right here, and we are looking at the one end of the building. So that is the first building we'll talk about. It's the largest building on the site. So I'll talk about the materials. So again, this is another view of the same building C. The red dot on the lower right-hand corner plan shows where you're standing at in relation to Thanet Circle. So it is the entrance. You're standing at the drive. That is the entrance into the community. And you'll notice that it's a 4-story building. With the first story mostly just being the lobby entrance and the garages. And the upper 3 levels are the actual living floors. The materials, I'll talk a little bit about the materials that we're here while we're here on the outside. So you'll notice. Well, actually, I'll wait till we talk about to get to the elevations. I will go on to the next. So this, again, it's the same building. This is the cover sheet that we're looking at. The red dot shows the view that the viewpoint that we're looking at. Again, it's the main it's the other main entrance into the community. This is the drive that will directly serve buildings C and D, although you can pass through and get to the rest of the community.
And what sheet? Oh, okay.
That was 15.
So this is sheet 15.
Yep.
Sheet 16. So now we are walking further down into the main drive. So this is where we just crossed the bridge over the unnamed tributary. And each of these 2 smaller buildings that we're looking at, they are market rate buildings with 6 units each. It is, buildings E and F. And I will go on to the next slide, slide 17. Again, further down the same drive, the main drive, we are looking down an alleyway between 2 sets of buildings. There's 3 buildings total. So you have buildings I, G, and H. And again, I'll zoom out. This is the alleyway between them. It's more of a courtyard. We have the taller market rate buildings to the right. And here you'll see the restrictive buildings to the left, G and H. Again, this is slide 17. On to slide 18. So this is, so this is the 2D elevation of that first building that we talked about, building C, which is on the main, which is directly up front Thanet Circle. So this is the largest building again, building C, 14 units. This is our 2D colored elevation. I'll start to talk about the materials here now that you can see them in a little more detail. There's brick along the base. We have horizontal, a mix of, so we have a mix of materials to sort of complement, our look the modern look that we are going specifically for this community. So we have brick along the base. As you go up, you'll notice we have horizontal siding, and the base have cementitious paneling, which are shown in dark gray. Our windows will be black, and we have, if you notice, we have aluminum canopies over each of the entrances. And there is there's 14 units in 7 townhome structures. So these are stacked townhomes. There's a lower unit and an upper unit. The lower unit is a smaller residential unit, which you will see as we go on to the floor plans. upper unit is larger. We have the townhome highlighted in green, second from the left, highlighted because that is the actual floor plan that we're going to be looking at as we go on to the next couple of pages. And I will pause here to see if anyone has any questions so far before we go onto the floor plans. No?
I don't know whether this is the right time to ask it, but I am curious. At some point, you could talk about whether all of the buildings on site will be the exact same color scheme, or
Yes,
whether you'll do some variation.
We wanted to keep we're using the same palette scheme in the whole site. We didn't want to we wanted to sort of have a cohesive look. We didn't want it to look jumbled or have the restrictive units look any different from the market rate. So we did apply the same palette across all 10 buildings.
Mr. McGowan?
Very quickly,
Sure.
you said at the beginning that there were 9 affordable units in one and 8 in another, but shouldn't it be 10 in one building and 7 in another?
Yes, sorry, what do I have? I'm sorry if I spoke incorrectly. No, I have 10. Yes, I have 10 in one and 7 in another.
Okay,
Thanks, Alvin.
just checking.
Yep,
Yeah.
sorry about that. All right, if no one else has any questions, I'll go on to the, again, this is the market rate unit. I'll go on to the floor plans for the market rates.
Go right ahead.
All right, so we color coded the market rates to show the different units. So basically the blue is the upper larger unit and the green is the lower unit. The very most right is the first floor plan, which you'll see that there's a two-door garage. So yeah, they'll get a total each unit will have a total 2 cars in the garage. There's space for bike parking, trash and recycling. Both exactly the same for each unit. And you'll notice that in front of the garage is the entrance, a closet space, a little bit of storage, and stairway up to the living area. On the second floor is entirely the stairway for the upper unit and most of the green unit, which is the 2-bedroom unit. The 2-bedroom unit you'll notice here, we have the square footage is 1,464 square feet. And yes, so the 2-bedroom unit is here on the second floor. And you'll notice that the primary bedroom for the green unit exists on the 3rd floor. So we call these interlocking stacked. So it is not, each unit doesn't fit neatly within one floor. It kind of one unit partakes over another floor. So we call it interlocking because it's not a smooth geometry. It's something that we're typically used to providing in our New Jersey communities. As you go through the rest, so the rear half of the 3rd floor plan is the larger unit, the 3-bedroom. So the living areas are on the 3rd floor, the bedrooms being up on the uppermost floor. And we have these partial floor plans here to show what it would, the minor differences it would look like if they had a bay. So some have a smaller bay, some have a 3-window bay, and some have no bay at all. So we just provided little snapshots of alternate floor plans above.
Is there any affordable unit with a bedroom that doesn't have a window? I know there was at one point, and I saw from the the letter that was submitted that a window was provided. So is there any other unit, affordable unit where there's no bedroom window?
Well, we're not on the affordable bedrooms units yet, but no, all our units have windows.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep. So again, this is the only market rate floor plan. It is going to be entirely the same, except for, I'll flip back to the elevation. So again, this is highlighted green because we are talking about an interior unit. The end units will have additional windows, and that will be the only, otherwise the floor plan is exactly the same. Again, the green is 2 bedrooms with 2 full baths. The blue is 3 bedrooms with 2.5 baths.
And Jim, the slide number on this one is 19.
It is 19. Yep, you got it.
Jim, from a handicapped accessibility standpoint, it doesn't look like any of these are accessible in the sense that unless you've got an elevator in a specific handicapped unit, what's the status on that?
No, you are correct. These are not meant to be accessible units.
But you're required to have some accessible units on the site, are you not?
Yeah, the restrictive units will all the ground floor restrictive units will be accessible.
Okay, so just to clarify, none of the market rate units are accessible.
No.
Okay, and also just one other quick clarification. The floor plans are identical across all of the market rate buildings, or is it?
Yes, that
Okay.
is correct. So that's why, yeah, we are only presenting one set of market rate floor plans. They're exactly the same across all buildings.
Okay.
They're all the same
Some,
setup. Yep, they're all.
Some buildings just have fewer units. That's the only difference.
That's correct. Yeah. So this again, I'll flip back to the elevation. So this is the largest. So this is a 7 unit or 7 townhome building. Some are 4.
Okay.
We have a 6 townhome building. That's it. Yeah, that's the only difference is the count.
Thank you for clarification.
Let me just ask an additional question there. So
Sure.
the end units could have additional windows that the internal units could not. Are you going to have any windows on the sidewalls?
Yes. I'll flip to, let me get to that in the following slides.
Okay.
So, we're on slide 19. So slide 20, this is the rear of the market rate of building C. You have the garages below and you'll see the balconies. Each unit has a balcony. And here are the side elevation. So we don't show it in plan, but from a side elevation, this is what one side will look like. The one end unit on the one side will have these windows. Well, that's 2 units basically. And let me see, this is slide 21. And on slide 22 is the other end of the same building. And this is what that end unit. So identical, they're just,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And just to confirm, this is something that we raised in the or I raised in the planning memo, and was mentioned in the response letter that the architectural plan showing all proposed buildings, elevations, I would also say floor plans, will be provided during resolution compliance. I just want to confirm that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's
And well, while there's a lull, just to clarify, these also were in the response letter from Dynamic, but just to confirm, what's shown right now is there's a brick and then there's a siding. Based on the response memo, that's going to be actual brick, and the siding is going to be vinyl, according to the response letter. Just to confirm that.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the brick, is that blonde color brick as opposed to,
Yeah, it's not red. It's a gray. It's more of a gray. So you'll see. I'm zooming up on it. Sorry if I'm
mhm.
causing headaches, but just to show you some detail. I mean, that's close to what it's going to look like. It's a 2D. It is a 2D plan, but we did try to show something that we're actually proposing,
Mhm.
which we intend to use. So it's to go with the, if this is a monochromatic theme using grays and whites.
This is slide 23.
Yes, slide 24. So I'm sorry. So this is the building G. So this is the one, this is the building that we are just looking at, the brick. So this is the first restrictive unit building. This is the 10 unit restrictive building. So it's the other restrictive building is a little bit smaller, only 7 units. So this is the front elevation. You'll notice that it's 3 stories. And if I go on to the next slide, slide 24, you'll see why. So on slide 24, this is the floor plan for building G. It is a restrictive unit. We have a mix of we have a mix of bedroom counts. So 1 bedroom, these are mostly 2-bedroom units and some 3-bedroom units. Each townhome section is a little bit different. Again, these are interlocking townhomes, so they do not stack evenly. I will run through this end unit just to as an example of a layout. So we have the garage. So this is the pink units are all ground floor type A units. As I was saying, these are the accessible units. The 1 unit on building G is a van accessible. That's what these stripes are for in this garage. So it is an accessible garage. They pull in and they enter in through here, entering upon the kitchen. There's a laundry area, mechanical room, the kitchen, living area, and 2 bedrooms, and a full bath, which is you can see it's pretty large to be accessible. Has all the clearances that are required. And that there are other tweaks to the rest of the units, but they are pretty similar in layout. Again, we have areas for bike storage in each of the garages that we provide, trash recycling, but yeah, not every unit gets a garage because there are 17 units, only 10 car garages. So the others, as was previously talked about, the rest of the parking will remain have designated surface parking. If we go to slide 25, we are on the 2nd floor. And again, this is where the interlocking layouts start to look different. So and that happens primarily because we are trying to fit different bedroom types, get a certain amount of bedroom types within these restrictive units as a whole. So it starts to look, uneven. This green unit on the end is a 2-bedroom unit. You'll notice that each of these buildings has common stairways. So enter in on this end unit. As you go up the stairway, you enter into the green unit, into the kitchen area, followed by the great room in the back and 2 bedrooms. Each of these units has a full bath. Does anyone have, and then let me flip to the 3rd floor. And the 3rd floor, so we have the 3rd floor has a couple of 3-bedroom units that take up almost an entire floor minus the common stairway and the 2 left. So, and the different colors represent the different units. Each, again, here is we have right here marked the different bedroom counts. So that's an explanation, the different bedroom counts and different square footages and what they range from. Does anyone have any questions on these floor plans?
There was just one question that came up last time. If you go back to 24, the first floor plan,
Yes, 24. Here we go.
bicycle storage for those people who don't have a garage.
Yes, that we do have that. So the people from the garage will, they have the option of entering obviously through the garage or through the front door. The people that are living upstairs, or the residents living upstairs, they have a common stairway, and each unit has a dedicated bike space underneath the stairs. We did not want them to bring the bike up, carry the bike up the stairs. So they will each have a bike space.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
So we have questions from Mr. McGowan, Ms. Wilson Anderson, and Mr. Taylor. Alvin?
Thank you. Did I hear you that the ADA accessible units and the affordable units are all together?
That's
You didn't make a
yes.
distinction. You didn't make the distinction between those.
No, it's just that the market rates, we don't have an accessible unit market rate. So all the accessible units that we do have just reside in this restrictive. So all the ground floor units in both restrictive buildings are accessible units.
I guess all the units with the same bedroom size, are they with the same bedroom counts? Are they all the same size? Whether they be market or affordable?
I'm sorry.
What I'm asking you is, are the
I'm
affordable
sorry.
units smaller?
Oh, yes, they are smaller. So they range in size. Yeah, they range in size from a 1 bedroom, 850 square foot unit. I'm zooming in the square footage here now to 1253 3-bedroom unit. Whereas the market rates start, the smaller market rate unit is 14 some square feet. So it's about a 200, the smaller market rate is about 200 square feet difference. So yes, to answer your question directly, they are smaller units. And that has to do with just the space in the kitchen. We have the affordable units get 1 full bath, whereas the market rates have 2 and 2.5 baths each. So it adds up.
The size of these units is controlled by the state rules on the UHAC rules, and our next witness is going to testify as to that.
Yes. Yes, that is true. We comply with all UHAC requirements. That was our guiding point principle for designing these. So, and that is typical for our projects. We use the UHAC as guidelines.
But again, too, and the third thing is, again, you if you will, you didn't mix the units throughout the project. You have the affordable units all in one place.
Yes. Within two buildings. Yes.
Why did you do that?
Just because of the nature of the design of them. So again, we are required to offer a bedroom mix, whereas the market rates we're not required to offer any kind of specific bedroom mix. And within specific square footages. So the market rate, we have a little more freedom of design. And it just made sense to just because of the different bedroom counts and the different square footages that we have to work with, that as you can see that as you get up to the upper floors, they become a little uneven, and it just it it just made a lot more, we feel like we were able to provide more by combining them all. One thing, I get your point, is that, we're sort of, keeping them, we're not spreading them out through the community. But if you look at the site plan, if you go back to our site plan, we kept that in mind. We were trying to locate the buildings, so we didn't want to locate them on the edge and keep them, out sort of outside the community. We wanted to feel them, sort of integrate them a little bit better. So we put them by the courtyard by building I. So these are the two restrictive units, buildings right here, building H and building G. So they share a courtroom with building I. They're backed by the playground. So we felt they're very well centered into the community. And go back to the floor plans.
I'm a little confused in terms of what you testified to about the number of bedrooms that were required.
Okay.
What does that have to do with the location? You were correlating it with the location of the two buildings that had only affordable units. I wasn't exactly sure what the correlation is.
Yeah, I just meant that. So I'm back to the market rate floor plans right now. So we have two different types of market rates, right? So they fit neatly together. Again, these are not just straight stacked townhomes. These are interlocking. So I can fit two different townhomes and repeat that, market rate townhomes together, units in one townhome together, and repeat that across the community. Whereas the restrictive units here is a little more complicated mix of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom units together. So it doesn't fit as neatly into a townhome. Also, just the way we do, because they are smaller, we have to stretch these buildings out a little bit wider. So these are 24-foot as opposed to the market rate. I don't have that. The market rates are a little bit smaller in width.
So it's also important to confirm that these are for sale units as opposed to rental units. And the UHAC rules make clear that they can be in separate buildings, as our next witness will testify.
They can be clustered as long as they are not in an undesirable location, which is why the architect was testifying as to the location, as to the not being along the sides or the road
That's
of
correct.
the
It's in
property.
the middle of, it's immediately adjacent to a market unit and in the middle of the complex.
Okay for now.
Thanks. Thanks, Alvin. Claudia?
Yeah, my question was along the same lines as Alvin's. Is the exterior finishes also appear to be inferior on the restricted units in comparison with the market rate units? And I also did have a bit of a reaction to the clustering or segregation of those units into two buildings. So I did just want to follow up with that as my personal feeling. So maybe you can address the exterior materials, because I saw the buildings don't look as fancy as the other buildings.
Yeah, well, we stressed giving them, so yes, they are 3 stories. They are not 4-story buildings. But we did pull the brick up, high on these. They don't have, the main difference is that they don't have the darker gray base. Everything else, we did we felt like we provided them the same level of quality as the market rates. This is just the front elevation. We gave them the same aluminum canopies or the front doors, the same doors and windows. It's the same horizontal siding and gray brick. I will go to, so this is slide 23. I will jump to slide 27 at the back. It is a similar looking rear elevation for the garages at the market rates, just a little bit shorter of a building. But they both have each, we gave units balconies just like the market rates. If I go to slide 28, again, similar composition. It is not, you're right, it is not exactly the same, but we do have full story brick, horizontal siding on the side. We have cementitious paneling between the windows. It's a similar feature that we have on the market rates. And on the opposite side, same thing. It is, yeah. So we definitely paid attention in our designs to try to not create too much of a separation between the market rates and the restrictive buildings, but they are fundamentally different buildings, so they will look different from each other. I am jumping ahead. So again, we are on slide 29, so that's the other side of building G.
It does look like there are noticeably fewer windows on the side elevations of these buildings that house the affordable units. Is that not the case? It looked like there were 3 on the market rate ones. There were 3 long window.
That has a lot to do with the layout of the plan. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping back to slide 26, which is the 3rd floor plan of building G. So, we have a bedroom, which we gave them windows in the front. It's just they're tighter units, so that you're not going to want as many bedrooms. Actually, we fit a window in the living area. There's a bedroom here. We fit a window there. Again, at the corner, the front corner, there is a bedroom. We don't have a bedroom on the side, but that same room does have windows. So each, it does look like there are less windows. Well, there are less windows, but each function has windows that would otherwise have windows in the market rates. Again, here we have a bedroom with a window on the side of it. We don't want a window in the laundry or the bath or by the stair, but this living area in the front does have windows. So we
Well, and
paid
I'm
attention.
seeing all these windows that you're pointing out on the left side of the picture. I'm
Yeah.
not seeing any on the right side of the image. So on type 2. So does that side elevation have no windows or have windows on a different floor or something?
Well, that's the 2nd floor, so let me jump back. So yeah, again, I guess you were looking at this right unit. I believe there should be windows, and maybe we didn't catch that, but this is not showing any windows when I believe there are on the 2nd floor. So if we jump to the side elevation, yeah, there should be a window. Both side elevations have windows on the 2nd floor. So I'm not sure why they're not showing up in plan on this particular unit, but there should be a window there. Again, we have the great room here. I believe we tried to find there should be a window shown in plan here. It's just incorrectly not shown. So there is a window in the living room. Otherwise, the great room has sliding doors to a deck, which is larger than a window. These 2 bedrooms in the front have windows.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Nathan, and then
No.
we'll call on Mr. Taylor.
Yep. Sorry to jump the line, Jack. I just wanted to then confirm that will be updated in any compliance plans, any plans that are submitted.
Yes, I will make sure we update that. Thank you.
Jack? You're on mute, so you'll need to unmute yourself.
Muted. May I continue this discussion about the issue of integration just a moment? I think Alvin and Claudia have raised a very fair question. We're dealing with a socially important issue in New Jersey, and one where Princeton has become a leader in affordable housing and meeting legal requirements for the state. And so when we decide under such circumstances not to integrate in conventional ways that have been approved as a matter of policy, we need not only to discuss it, but we need, in my judgment, a reference in the document itself for what we've done, why we've done it, and why it's the right thing to do. Failing to anticipate issues, we're going to have them, and they'll be more effectively dealt with, in my judgment, if we anticipate the issues and think a minute longer still about this issue. Thank you.
We'd like
Thank you, Jack.
we'd like to do that. And again, Craig Rayenkamp is an expert in affordable housing and a planner, and is going to speak to that very issue next.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Tar. Councilman Cohen and then Ms. Nuka.
Yeah, I don't want to spend any time defending the UHAC rules above or beyond saying that they are the rules. I do want to speak to the location of these affordable units because I actually feel like it's the nicest location in the entire site. I think that the front doors are going to front on this greenway between the affordable buildings and Building I, which is going to be really one of the nicest public places on the campus. And it's close to the playground, which is another real asset. So I just want to say, not only is this not in a disadvantaged spot, but it's actually one of the nicest spots on the campus. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. But that's my feeling about the locations that were chosen for these affordable buildings.
Yeah, again, I just want to stress that we did take the location of these buildings very seriously, and it was thought and discussed about in the planning of this community. But yes, to your point, it is exactly why, although we didn't, intersperse them into the different townhomes, each of the buildings we did take, it is the reason why we placed it in this courtyard between Building I, and we have a bricked walkway in between. It is in the middle of a major, it is probably the most accessible building, circulation all around. So, and as we think, retreated back from the main drive, they do have a bit of privacy too, which I think is rather nice.
And just one more word about that, because I think that, the stacked townhomes each have separate entries. These buildings are not like Avalon at the shopping center where they're hallway buildings. In a hallway building, the residents interact in the hallway. On this campus, the residents are going to interact in the outdoor spaces, the public spaces. And again, these buildings are very nicely situated to interact with the residents of the market rate units. So I just, I want to make that point that even if you had them intermixed in the buildings with the market rate units, you would have no more interaction between the market rate residents and the affordable residents than you will in this plan, because they would only interact in the outdoor public spaces anyway.
If I could comment on the application of UHAC, because David referred to it and Chris Tar did a little while ago. UHAC provides that if the units are rental units, they should be interspersed in the same buildings, market and affordable. These are not rental units. And UHAC has different rules when they are for sale units. Then they don't have to be dispersed. no requirement of that, although obviously if a developer wanted to do it, it could. And the only requirement is basically integration of the affordable buildings in the development. And David has commented on that. So I just wanted to make that distinction, that there's no requirement of this interspersing of affordable units with market units within buildings because it's a for sale development.
Thanks, Jerry. Pallavi?
Thanks. I just want to kind of echo the comments previously by members, Ms. Claudia Wilson, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. McGowan, just about the fact that it's a little bit disappointing, even though this may be completely in compliance with the UHAC regulations. Those regulations represent a certain minimum. It's a little bit disappointing to see that maybe you didn't exceed the minimum here in some sense. But going back to the architectural drawings, I had a question just specifically on building H. Looking at the plans that were submitted, it seems like one of the units at the end of, on the left end of building H, looking at the rear elevation, there's for some reason half of the third floor is cut off, or it just is a roof. Could you explain that and why you did that?
Yes, it's just a I'll walk through the floor plans of building H. We didn't get the building H yet.
Okay.
They're pretty similar to building G, so I'll try to run through this. So again, yes, so it doesn't look like anyone else has their hand raised. This is slide 30. So this is the smaller of the affordable, of the restrictive buildings, building H. And this is the entrance. Again, similar materials. If we run through the floor plans here, again, we show a mix of different square footages and bedroom counts. Very similar to building G. The bottom units are type A accessible. If we go to the second floor, again, these are the layouts, different bedroom counts. I'm just running through this really quickly. And to get to your point, so it's just the size. We kept this building on the end. Yeah, you can see it looks like that. So it's just that we didn't need the full square footage of the building. It gives it some geometric, we tried to change the elevation up. It's not a completely flat side of a building. It gives it a little bit of, geometry to it. So we were just playing with the composition.
So, I mean, if you made that building, so if you just made it consistent with the rest of it, you would just have a larger unit? Is that the issue?
If we want full, it would be a
that would become
unit.
like a 3-bedroom unit.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious, like, was there a certain number or limitation on the number of 3-bedroom units, or?
It's not enough. I mean, again, we met the requirements. We didn't have a limit. It was just going through the design,
Once again, that is both the UHAC rule and a municipal ordinance, and the next witness is going to testify to it.
Yeah, I will say that this is at the very, this is at the very end of the.
I'm just saying from an aesthetic perspective, it's maybe not ideal aesthetically, but maybe I'd like to hear other reasons from perhaps the next person on why you chose to go with this route.
Yeah, I mean, we feel that's not fully a flat building. It kind of, it gives a gabled roof on this very end. It's just a nice feature to add some, variety to the building. So again, it's not a completely it's not a completely predictable composition.
Well, yeah, one person's nice composition is another person's looks a little weird to me. But on the elevation that you just showed, there are no windows at all on that side elevation. Is that the way it's supposed to be? This is slide 35 I'm asking about.
Yeah, so I'm back on slide 33. This is the, I'm sorry, the third floor. So that is true. There's no windows here on the third floor. I'll just run through each of the floor plans quickly. Yeah, we don't have any. Again, each of the rooms that we feel should have windows have windows. It is just has a lot to do with the layout of these particular units. The bedroom up here has windows. Bedrooms down here have windows. The circulation space, laundry room, and bath closets do not need windows. And again, so
what's
it does look like there should be a window shown on the first floor, which is not shown on that elevation.
So what's the ventilation for the bathrooms?
I take that back. It is. Yes. Sorry.
So what's the ventilation for the bathrooms? Are those going to have vents?
Yes, they will have vents.
Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanted to support Pallavi's comment about that unit with the, I'm going to call it a shed roof rather than a gable roof. I'm not sure you're saving any money. You don't have any less exterior wall. You don't have any less roof compared to, and you have more odd connections, which are costly when you're building a building than if you made it a simpler box. I think that having an additional 3-bedroom unit, and by the way, you would have an additional bedroom and probably a bigger living room, which would be a nice thing for that unit as well. I don't believe that there's a maximum, Mr. Tar, in contrast to what you were saying, I think you are allowed to have more 3-bedroom units than the minimum that's required.
That's correct.
Under the UHAC rules, so there would not be, if you could get a 3-bedroom in there at virtually no additional cost, and you would get more rent for it, and it would be nicer for the residents, I think that would be a smart change to make.
Well,
I don't think
it's not rental, David.
there's rent. Affordable units bring rent.
No,
And
but it's for sale. These are for sale.
Oh, I'm
units, is
sorry.
what we're
Okay.
saying.
But
Yeah,
it'd be,
even more
it'd
so
be worth
that
more. It'd be worth more as a purchased unit.
Yeah, it'll be worth more. So I'm just,
the point is taken.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we can certainly take all of your comments into consideration, and we will definitely go back and take a look at that further.
Yeah. And I think a few more windows on the wall, if they could be worked in, would be nice from the exterior.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
Yeah,
that's
we
go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We just paid attention to landscaping here on the side, so it's not going to be a totally completely. There will be trees on the ends of these buildings, so yeah.
Right. But I think the concern is really those upper floors. And I just want to get confirmation from the board, because I don't want it to be too vague in terms of what's being agreed to or what's being asked for. Is it the board's desire to see that roof raised to make it a flat roof and turn that more? I guess it's up to the applicant to determine what that actually looks like in terms of the interior space, whether that's an additional bedroom or some additional common space in that unit. But is that the board's kind of where you want to go with this building, is to get that roof, to provide that flat roof and consistency between the different buildings?
That's what I would like
think
to
so.
Would like to see
That's
that.
what we heard.
Okay. All right, just confirming, and just confirming what Councilman Cohen mentioned. There's no maximum to the number of 3 bedrooms. There is a percentage that has to be met. They've already met that, but any additional 3 bedroom, if that's what they want to do with that extra space.
If it takes away the 2 bedroom, you have to reallocate. So you have to be careful.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, but yeah, so we can.
So that I
get
think
the
that
re-
was my question also, and maybe the next person can testify. If there's a certain number of 2 bedrooms, if there's a certain ratio you have to maintain between
20%, 30%, they're very precise.
So,
Yes.
so maybe taking that 2 bedroom, but fixing that roof so it's level, but leaving it as a kind of flexible den space. So you can call it a 2 bedroom, but someone could treat it as a 3 bedroom.
We'll
Am I
let
allowed
them
to say
let
that?
them do the math. I think that
Yeah.
usually the way it works is you have a maximum number of 1 bedrooms, a minimum number of 3 bedrooms, and everything else is 2 bedroom. And I think if you add 1 3 bedroom and reduce by 1 your 2 bedrooms, you're not going to be getting in trouble. But I don't want to swear.
Mr.
So
Ray can
let your
attest.
guy do
Yeah.
the calculation.
No, no, that's absolutely true, David. And I think in these very unusual circumstances, if the board wants to make that unit into a 3 bedroom unit, it would have the power of imposing that as a condition.
And just to clarify, because I have my memo right here where we did do the calculations. Currently, there are 10 2 bedrooms, equaling 58.8% of the units, and the minimum is 30%. So I think if this were to be a 3 bedroom with that extra space, they'd still be meeting all of their benchmarks.
Thank you.
And just to verify, yes, this is a 2 bedroom that would be turned into a 3 bedroom. Okay, with that, I think I went through everything I intended to go through for the architectural testimony.
Well, we've had lots of questions along the way, but if there are any
Yes.
more before we get to the planner, we should ask them now.
Just want to emphasize that I'd really like to see more windows on that elevation that shows the only one window. And I know I heard what you said about landscaping, and I appreciate very much that there will be trees on that side. I think it would be nice for people to be able to look out their window and see
The trees.
that tree. And there's no rule about having a window on only one wall of a room, So if you can add some windows there, I think it would be good for the people inside as well as those looking at the building from the outside.
To pick up on Mr. Foot's question of the board, that point is well made. There's another toll project that's under construction where windows on the ends were an issue, and it was left to the toll to work with staff to put in those windows, assuming again that we receive a positive vote, that a condition would be that the applicant work with staff to incorporate those windows, and only if they can't agree to come back to the board.
And you're amenable to that, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick, Chris, and just say that we certainly paid special attention to the side elevations, but completely understanding your concerns. We're certainly open to taking a second look and doing another review of this, and we can certainly share those with you as conditions, however we see fit of approval here. So definitely hear you, and something that we're strongly going to take a look at.
Thank you.
I did have. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to ask about washers and dryers. In the response letter, it was noted that each unit will have a dedicated laundry room, but washers and dryers will not be provided. Just want to confirm that that's the case, and also ask if it is possible to provide washer and dryer units for each unit.
Are you talking about the restrictive units?
What it's saying is that in either market or affordable units. So what I'm reading here is that none of the units will be provided washer and dryers, just the laundry rooms, just the space for washers and dryers.
I could
Not
feel
that.
that one, Jim.
Yes. Yes.
I can just jump in and take that. Yeah, so that's what we do on all of our, not just the restricted or affordable units, but all of the market rate units as well. It's just typical for we supply the dishwasher, the stove, but refrigerator, washer, dryer, those are all optional to purchase that are designed suited for the market rate. It's kind of the same suit with the affordable housing, just treating it all kind of equally.
Wait, could you go back over that? The refrigerator doesn't come with the unit?
No. So we don't offer refrigerators or washers, and we don't include refrigerator and washers and dryers as a standard in our market rates either. And we're just trying to treat everything consistent. They'll get a dishwasher, stove, but no other appliances as far as refrigerator and washer dryer.
Okay, so there's room for a refrigerator, I take it.
Yes. There's certainly
Yes.
room for it. It's just not included as part of the base house in either market rate or affordable.
Okay, and the washer and dryer, there's not room for that.
No, there is.
Yes.
There's room for that as well.
Yes.
Just
There
not
is. There is.
included. Like the actual appliance is not included into it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
oh, fine, thank you very much, yeah.
Yeah, I'm zooming into the plan, so I get the laundry rooms here and space refrigerators here. So
But if
So
someone,
I
oh, sorry.
assume the laundry has all the appropriate
Yes, all the
hookups?
hookups and
oh, yeah,
everything
outlets,
for it, so
plumbing.
it's just plug and play when
all
they.
ready to plug and play, so to
Yep.
speak.
Exactly. For lack of a better word.
And if
that-
someone buying the unit did want to include those in the purchase, those could be added, but it would be an additional element of the cost.
Correct.
Mhm.
Well, that's a good question as to how the determination would be made as to what the unit could be sold for. I think the unit would be reduced in sales price to reflect that.
Yeah, there'd have to be some configuration of that with the administrative agent
Exactly,
to determine the pricing with that
Exactly.
scheme.
Exactly.
Yep. But as long as you're willing to work with the administrative agent on that, then that's, that is what it is.
Yep. Okay, no more architectural questions.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Our next and last witness is Cray Rankamp. And Cray's background is so interesting, I'm going to ask him to be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give be the truth?
Do.
So sworn or
Then-
affirmed. Please.
Then I'd like
I
for
should
Craig-
say someone else is in control of my name. I am not at the moment AICP. I am a licensed New Jersey planner, but I don't have my AICP anymore.
Okay.
Well-
Craig, if you can state your full name and spell your last name.
It's Cray. I'll spell both. It's weird. Cray, Creigh, Rankamp, Rahenkamp.
Thank you.
Cray, you have extensive credentials. I'd like you to just give us the highlights on the planning side and then veer over to affordable housing where you're a specialist.
Sure. I was going to keep it short, so you can tell me if I need to do more. Undergraduate Penn, graduate Georgetown. I've been in the field 46 years, licensed in New Jersey for 31, continuously and currently valid. I've qualified in over 100 trials and hearings. Probably about 3/4 of those are in the affordable housing world. 4 other states, 3 federal districts, and I appear before planning and zoning boards throughout the state. Since council asked for more Mount Laurel stuff, I've served as a court-appointed, they used to be masters, now special adjudicators, and have been in the affordable housing world for quite some time.
We accept your qualifications. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Cray, we've redesigned buildings G and H, so maybe we've partly solved that problem, but I would like you
Yes.
to speak to the issue about the actual movement of an affordable unit into a market building and so forth and so on.
Yep. Councilman Cohen and Mr. Foote have made me largely irrelevant, but I'm going to talk to the issues again. Let me share an exhibit. There we go. Hopefully that popped up.
We see it.
Very good.
Is
Mr. Foote had asked for planning testimony on 4 issues. One was the income distribution by bedroom count. The second was the locational issues that you all have just been discussing, a diversity by product type concern that he had, and lastly, I'm going to be having new information on the issue of phasing. So I'm going to talk about those 4 things.
Mr. Rankin,
Yep.
Okay. So this is what is now up on you?
This is slide number 39 of the applicant's first exhibit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to direct your attention to the lower right-hand corner where it says unit distribution. You'll see a column 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and total. As Mr. Foote said, there is a maximum of 1 bedroom of 20%, a minimum of 3 bedroom of 30%. So we do have the flexibility of doing an additional 3 bedroom unit. I will defend the applicant by saying most municipalities make that maximum a minimum because the 3 bedrooms bring larger families. So there is a municipal impact to going to an additional 3rd, but we're more than happy to do that at the board's direction. So this table would shift to having 1 more 3 bedroom and 1 less 2 bedroom based on that conversation. And unfortunately, 39 that was initially submitted has an error in the far right column. It would actually be 1, 1, and 1 for very low, low, and moderate. And the 2 bedroom would be 1, 4, and 5. 1 very low, 4 low, and 5 moderate. So we've got a balance between low and mod in each of the categorizations. The odd extra unit is in the low category. And in your housing plan, it identifies that this site would be generating 2 very low, and they would be 1 at the 1 bedroom and 1 at the 2 bedroom. We wouldn't have them both in the same classification. So this was the additional information that Mr. Foote had asked for. And unfortunately, it's not quite correct on 39, and based on the conversation, we would change it. So I will submit this to him corrected after this evening. The second issue is location. The background of this issue, and I understand very well where people are coming from on this. There were some really evil things that developers had done in the late 2nd round, early 3rd round. For example, there were high rises that would have 1 elevator for the affordable and 1 for the market. So that they lived in 2 separate worlds in the same building. There were developments that put the affordable housing in up front near the highway or in the back away from the developments. And it was that kind of exclusion that everybody was reacting to. The first generation of UHAC revised rules had what I call radical integration. They had to be scattered everywhere. That went out for industry comment. And they spent a lot of time working with for sale housing developers who work very differently than rental. We haven't seen for sale affordable units since late round 1, early round 2 in the mortgage housing crisis. Because of changes in UHAC rules, it was very difficult to do mortgages in the income restricted market. That's starting to loosen up now, and you now have a developer willing to do for sale affordable. So a lot of the things that we have in our head are about the experiences we've had over the last decade or so with principally rental projects. You're going to start seeing sale more often. And they have different issues, and one of which is on appliances. In for sale, you typically don't provide the appliances because people could be moving here with them. So it's a different environment than you have for rentals, as you were just discussing. I'm going to switch to the UHAC rule that we're working with now and see if that works. Did the rule come up?
Yes.
Switch tabs and it works? Yes. Brilliant. Okay. So this is, let me flip my page here. This is 525, well, yeah, 5:80-26.5 sub 3, which is the for sale regulations, and 2 that I've highlighted is the location requirement. Restricted units may be clustered, provided that the buildings or housing product types containing the restricted units are integrated throughout the development and are not concentrated in an undesirable location or in undesirable locations. So I'm going to go back to the site plan.
Just hold for 1 second.
Yep.
Let's mark that as Exhibit A. What do we have to A3?
Yes.
Okay.
That and the slide before it. I apologize. The slide before it is in Exhibit 1.
Yes, that's in the slide deck.
Right,
This is
right.
Right.
This is simply the statute.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so coming back to the site plan, Councilman Cohen anticipated exactly the line I was going to use. In a common rental project, you have that hallway. We have what we think of as our outside hallway. If you go out the front door of an affordable unit, directly across the green space from you is a market family. You are intermingling in what is essentially the outdoor hallway. And I think of that front yard parklet, if you will, courtyard as a toddler loopway. The affordable units come proportionally, the 2 and 3 bedrooms are allocated by family size. They will have kids. And statistically, they're disproportionately young. So this is giving us an open space area outside the front doors of these units where you've got a controlled open space. That's going to be toddler heaven. And having that sidewalk going around, even though one corner has a couple of steps, is going to be a great recreational area. And from there, you access the playground. So this is exactly the right place on the site for these units to be. They are not being disadvantaged. They're not stuck up by the entrance away from everybody else. They're not in a deep corner. They're smack in the middle of market rate units with access to the best 2 pieces of open space on the site. So I would suggest to you they're in exactly the right place. And you heard from the architect the practical limitations that come with for sale units. The affordable units complying with UHAC size requirements are still very different than the configuration you can do with market. We also have to have ADA accessibility that you're not required to have in market. So the puzzle pieces don't fit together when you try and integrate them in a for sale context. So coming from that architecture, knowing that we're doing building by building affordable or market, this is the absolute best place on the site. It's also the area on the site that's most advantaged from a parking perspective. You had the discussion last time of the parking distribution between front and back. This is the area of the site that has enough parking to be able to do the affordable units that don't have garages, have surface parking close to the units, and not be competing with the guest parking for the market rate units. So I would suggest to you that this really is the right place, and it does conform with the regulations. And about the garages, I just wanted to touch on that for a minute. There was at the last hearing, I think a little disappointment that some had garages, but not all. This is a circumstance in which garages are not required. The affordable units typically don't have garages. Most developers do the affordables without any garages. So that some have garages here, in fact, more than a majority of them actually have garages, is a positive rather than some of them not being a negative. This is actually something that is an additional benefit for those that get the garages that typically doesn't happen for affordable housing. So I would urge you to look at that as a positive, not as a negative. You've heard that they have similar architecture. They meet the constraints on sizes in terms of unit size, windows for bedrooms, and utilities we've talked about. Now, Mr. Foote had raised a question about a requirement in UHAC that you have to have affordable units in each of the same kind of product types that you have for market. But under UHAC, there's no such thing as a stacked townhouse. There's duplexes, there's townhouses, there's multifamily, and stacked townhouses is essentially a marketing term. These are multifamily units. This is not a townhouse. It doesn't have one unit, ground to ceiling with party walls. This is a multifamily unit. Both the market rate units and the affordable units are the same kind of housing type under UHAC. They're all in the multifamily category. It's just that the market rate units have more verticality and they're 4 stories than the market rate units do. But I don't think having steps is necessarily an advantage. So this is a situation where Mr. Foote's concerned about being them different product types. They call them that from a marketing perspective, but within the universe of the regulations, these are all the same kind of unit. The last issue I have is phasing. In UHAC, there is a 4-step traditional phasing plan that breaks the site at 25%, 50, 75, and 100 of your market units. And on the affordable side, you have to do 10% of your affordables by 25 of market, and then you catch up 50-50, 75-75, and 100% of the affordables before 90. As you see on the site plan, this site plan lays out so that you've got a front section that you've got to develop before you, at least the infrastructure, before you get to the back section. And in a for sale context, having that exact, sort of quarter by quarter accounting is very difficult. What the applicant is proposing is that 100% of the affordables will have their COs by the time they get to 62% of the market rate units, which is actually 42. It's a actual physical number of units. They figured out what infrastructure they need to build, what units would be sellable by the time they got to the affordables. So they would be allowed to do 42 of the market rate units before they would have to bring on all 17 of the affordable. So the public interest is protected. You've got just less than 40% of the market rate units unbuilt, unsold before the affordables have to be delivered upon. So the town is protected. And they would also agree to submit the building permits for the affordables at the 50% mark. So you're going to have a progress mark at 50% that the affordable building permits are submitted, and they're going to be built and ready for sale, COs issued by the time you get to the 42 units. I think it's a practical solution for a small for sale site, and still protects the public by having so much of the market rate housing still on the back end after the affordable housing is constructed and occupiable. So those were the four issues, Mr. Foote, I think you would ask to have addressed. Certainly open to any additional questions that you or the board might have.
Ms. Nuka?
I'm sorry, I'll put the plan away.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Yeah, thank you, Craig.
So just a quick question. You mentioned, I think, early in your statement that some municipalities don't want more 3-bedroom units.
That's often the case, yes.
Can
I'm
you just
glad you guys are
explain-
far more enlightened than everybody else.
Could you just explain what you mean by that?
Sure, if I may be blunt, school kids.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, that was it. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Pallavi. Nathan Foote?
Yeah, just a few follow-up questions. The first one, just the unit distribution table that was provided. I know, Craig, you said that you would provide that. That's great. I would also ask that that table be provided on the, it could be the architectural or the site plans, but just so that they are in the plan, on the actual plan documents somewhere. So I would ask that that be.
I'm sure we can find someplace on the plans to put it.
Excellent. Yeah. So if I could ask that that would be a condition of approval should the board look favorably on the application. So that's the first thing. And then I wanted to follow up on two things that were mentioned. The first being, I think, placement, the location of the units. I think the concern for the board, it sounds like is obviously like the interspersal, but I think also, for lack of a better word, stigmatization of those possibly of those residents, because the buildings are different. Are they different enough to show, that this is a different type of resident? So I think that's potentially also of concern to the board, because it is just one story difference, but still that is a difference. The windows that might, the agreement to provide more windows that might help. So I would ask that you provide additional testimony on that. And then the second part thing I wanted to follow up on was the townhouse, townhomes, specifically stacked townhomes, not being mentioned in UHAC, and specifically what you mean by that, because I'll be honest, I'm not an expert in the entire document. So I don't know if there's another place that I'm not looking, but the place that I know where they're mentioned is just as examples. So for example, it's like single family home, townhome. I can't remember what the third is, but there's three of them listed in parentheses at the point that I know of where they are listed. So just because something isn't listed in the in UHAC, I'm just wondering how that gets excluded in your estimation.
I'll take that one first, since I put up the pros you're saying. And it doesn't say include, so it's not meant to be exclusive. But in no code is a stacked townhouse a thing. Duplexers are defined as side by side. Multifamily are unit over unit. We are unit over unit. We are squarely in the definition of a multifamily unit. We use the term stacked townhouse to convey to people that our multifamily units are fancy because they've got a staircase inside.
Well, we
But
do.
it's still a multifamily
Sorry.
unit.
We do have stacked townhouse defined in our ordinance. I will just point that out. We
Yes.
we do have that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not used as a term of art. I'm saying it from the perspective of building codes and regulatory state level things. It is a multifamily unit over unit, not separated by party walls. And even some of our affordable units have verticality with a bedroom on one level and the families below. So even within the affordable units, we've got a stacked flat or whatever else language you want to use. So I don't see that as an issue in this case. We're not doing the affordables in something that's fundamentally different as a unit type architecturally from what we're doing for market. So at least that's my answer. You can see the regulation. I'll stop sharing that. Let me go back to the stigmatization one. That's let me do one thing at a time there. And my answer is going to be unsatisfying. In the 80s, when I was a young man, the idea that we were hiding the affordables and no one would know was what we thought we were doing. It turns out that a large share of all compliance in municipalities are in 100% affordable developments. Clearly, everybody knows that they're affordable. And it turns out in all of the homeowner documents in the for sale affordable housing units that we did in the 80s, all identify the addresses of the affordable units in the homeowner documents that are handed everybody in the community. There is no one in the community who doesn't know which units are the affordable units. So no matter what we do in architecture, everybody knows who's who. And there's just no way to hide it. And I think, 40 or 50 years into this process, we now know there's no way to hide it. Everybody has the information. Everybody knows who's who. And at the very least, everybody assumes that if there's a bunch of kids, they're probably one of the affordable units, because the market rate units will very rarely have school kids in this kind of unit type. So there is no mystery.
Well, I mean, it is what are they? 2-bedroom units, the market rates? Is it 2 or 3 bedrooms?
3, I think, yeah.
3 bedrooms. So, I mean, there's,
Oh, there's always a possibility,
Yeah.
but just where we are demographically as a nation, the people in this income range buying this kind of unit that doesn't have a private yard aren't the people with kids. If you've got this kind of money and you have kids, you can find an older, smaller, single-family home that'll meet your needs better than living in this art. So it self-selects.
Okay, covered 4 points very quickly.
talk
Mr.
too fast.
McGowan,
You're right about your last answer.
It's unsatisfying. I know.
I mean, it's really unsatisfying.
Yep.
There's a reason why, one, I asked the question I did. It wasn't just for me. It was just there's another neighbor who knows something about affordable housing and knew that the units were going to be in a separate building. And the comment to me was deal killer. So I wanted to make sure at least that there was some comment on the record that to address that particular issue. And the other thing that's somewhat disturbing too, it's not just the location. These are smaller units. They're distinctly apparently smaller units than the market units. That doesn't seem to matter too much at all. But it makes me uncomfortable.
It is the absolute reality in for sale housing. There is no way for the private sector to carry a 20% set aside when you're also selling luxury units. What it would do is essentially say you can't build new luxury units anymore. You can only build one step up from affordable. If you want to provide additional square footage, it becomes as a tax that you have to do with additional square footage in your affordable housing. And those are the issues that HMFA went through. That if you're going to do this in a for sale environment, you have to allow the market rate units to meet the market and then put in very severe minimum unit sizes. These are larger than they were in the first and second rounds to make sure that the affordable housing population gets good sized units. And they've done that. They've elevated the size of units. There were some very, very small affordable units in the second round, and I think we all learned our lesson that was not a good idea. So the minimums have increased significantly, but you have to allow the market rate to get bigger if you're going to allow it to function in a for sale context.
Okay.
Other questions for Ms. Nuka?
So just kind of one comment and one question. So just on the point that families with children will be living in the market rate units, I think that's maybe true as a national trend, but in New Jersey and in Princeton, there's such a limited supply of housing, single family housing. So, I think we will probably see a fair number of families with children interested in those market rate units. There's just no other option in
To
town.
me, that's a good thing. I'm just reporting what the
No,
experience has
I'm
been.
just saying, literally in Princeton, there's no supply.
Right.
Right. And that's why we're building this development here. The other question is, with the affordable unit buildings, can we just clarify the build quality is going to be the same? I understand the units are smaller and the material finishes may be different, but the construction quality is the same across both the market rate and
Jim,
the
could you
affordable
speak to
units.
that?
I can feel that one, Chris. It's kind of
Okay.
yes, all
Yeah.
the exterior materials the same way framed out. Everything will be consistent across the board with the market rate and the affordables.
The materials,
Okay.
And that-
the materials be the same?
Yes, all the exterior materials, the brick, the vinyl siding, the roofing, all of that exterior trim, it would all be consistent across the affordable and the market rates.
You're not
Windows.
reducing insulation
Yes.
or none of the building systems change.
Okay.
And that,
Um,
sorry, I was just going to say, and that is a requirement of UHAC. So UHAC does state that exterior, all those systems, they have to be the same between the affordable and the market rate buildings and the units. The interior finishes can be different, but the exterior, the buildings have to be of the same quality.
Well, and Alex will correct me if I'm wrong, but the base that's offered for the market is the same base that's offered for the affordable. The market people have the option to buy something fancier if they want as an option, but the base is uniform.
okay. I think that's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, just a practical question. How have we handled this issue in the remaining developments of the Tanat Place?
Well, handled what?
How have we handled affordable housing with regard to this issue in the remaining development of Tanat?
Thanet?
Thanet.
Yeah.
Thanet.
Yeah.
Mr. Foote can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is your first for sale project.
In the fourth round, yes. I think this might be a Justin question, though, because I think Mr. Taylor's question is regarding the other developments on Thanet, because we do have other developments on Thanet.
That's
One of them is
Avalon
a
Bay and
senior.
a tax credit deal. They were both rental.
They're not for sale projects.
Okay. That's correct.
And in-
They are not for sale
Okay.
projects.
And in rental projects, they do have to be, if there are affordable,
Inclusionary.
if there is an affordable set aside, they do have to be more integrated into the buildings. when we start getting to those other rental projects in the for these fourth round projects, you're going to see how they get integrated, and that is something that we're going to be looking at with those.
Good. Is 375 Terhune though? That's a for sale project, isn't it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a toll project, right?
Yes.
And the affordable units are also in a separate structure.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was third round as well, though, I think.
That was
isn't
third
it?
round, yes.
So different rules, but they are
Different rules,
separate
but
structures.
similar
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Yeah.
I have a
The
question.
solution has to be solved in the same way either round for sale units.
Yeah. I have a
Go ahead, Jim.
question completely from left field and completely outside my purview as a land use engineer. And
I can't wait.
And I certainly hope that the legal minds sitting here can answer this question, but I have a concern about the lack of accessible units in the market rate. And I thought that there was a federal law that said that any multifamily development of greater than 4 units needed to have accessible units. And okay, Nathan, you're going to answer my question for me. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, I mean, if it was, sorry to cut you off. If there was more, I apologize. And again, maybe the legal mind should be jumping in on this, but my understanding is that townhouses and single family homes are excluded from that Fair Housing Act. That would be the Fair Housing Act that controls for the accessibility standards for projects like this that don't have federal funding behind them. But
Well, we just heard this isn't a townhouse. These
Yeah.
are not townhouses. These are
Townhouse
multifamily.
is the informal rule. The actual reg under the Federal Fair Housing Act goes to whether the product type has a common entrance and hallway. If we don't have that. We have individual entrances to units. You're allowed not to be accessible.
Yeah, I can elaborate more on the building just from a building code standpoint too. So the townhome, the market rates, as you've seen, are 2 units stacked on top of each other. They are governed by the residential code. So, because the residential code is technically a 1 and 2 family dwelling code, and there'll be a fire. The party wall is a fire separation, meaning that each townhome is a separate building. So the market rate units are governed by the residential code. And where we have more than 2 dwellings, it becomes multifamily. So anytime you have 3 or more, it's a multifamily. So that's why. So the affordable buildings are multifamily, because there's 3 or more units per building. Each townhome is technically a separate building under the fire code. And you are not required to. So what I'm trying to say is that you are not required for 1 and 2 family dwellings. You are not required to have ADA accessibility.
And as a follow-up to that, with those affordable units, those buildings, because they are defined in that way, that's why those ground level units have to be accessible or adaptable under federal Fair Housing Act, whereas the market rates don't, and that's a difference there. That's where that difference comes in.
Okay. I got nothing to say.
I know. I mean, it's a go figure kind of.
It is very much so. Yes. It was kind of shocking when I started diving more and more into that and going, really, this is how it's set up? But that is how it's set up.
So, Mr. Tar, you have no other witnesses. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think that if we're finished with questions, of course, you're going to hear from the public.
Yes. And I see, Mr. Foote, you have your hand up. What's on your mind?
I did have just one question. It's been on my mind, and it keeps slipping my mind. It finally came back to me. Just about I know that these are going to all be for sale units. It's more, but in terms of, is this going to be a condo style type of ownership structure? Or is it more, is there going to be a homeowners association? And also, who is responsible for the maintenance of the exterior of the buildings and the roofing of the buildings?
Alex.
Yes, this will be a condo style association where the HOA will take care of the exterior maintenance along with throughout the site maintenance.
And the affordable units will be members of the association?
Yes, they will also be members of the association as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So it is time to move to public comment. I would like to take the opportunity, since it's 9 o'clock, to take our typical mid-meeting break with both gratitude and apologies to members of the public, of which there are 36, who have been waiting patiently, and I know are many of you interested in weighing in and expressing your views and asking questions. So, but right now it's 9 o'clock. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll resume at 10 after promptly. So please, everybody, be back by then, and then we'll start taking public comment. Thanks, everybody. Started with public comment. Welcome back. Now is the time, if you are a member of the public, and now we have 33 members of the public, to raise your hand, and we will bring you over into the panelist room in the order in which your hands were raised. So first hand up belongs to Carlo Nalen. After that will be the person identified as Mateo 11, and then David Newton. So, Mr. Nalen, if you would, hope I'm pronouncing your name right, if you'd activate your camera, please, and there you go, unmute yourself. Mr. Muller, our attorney, will swear you in, and then ask you to state your name and spell your last name. Go ahead, Mr. Muller, do your thing.
You can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth?
I do.
So sworn or affirmed. Again, please state your full name and spell your last name.
Carlo Nalen, Nalin.
Thank you.
And I've been a homeowner at Governor's Lane for 16 years. Madam Chair, I want to express my gratitude to you and the Planning Board and the township staff for your expert evaluation of this application. Redevelopment of 29th Thanet could be a step forward in expanding affordable housing, but I believe the current plan falls short of what's best for Princeton. I want to focus mainly on the environmental and safety concerns about this plan. The applicant's own report says that over-excavation and replacement of existing fill will be necessary, and that portions of the existing building will be crushed on site. We have not heard whether the current structure is free of asbestos. Where in the pre-demolition inspection for asbestos and its removal described in the proposed pre-demolition plans. During demolition, crushing, and site preparation ahead of the work that was done on Avalon and the senior housing, our patio, which is more than 900 feet away, needed to be cleaned every day because of the airborne debris. We heard there's a plan to protect the tributary, but no details or comment to ensure that airborne debris doesn't also pollute the rest of the wetlands. When will we see details about this?
Next, the pedestrian bridge will be replaced in kind. Will this work be performed with Fair Housing Act ramp guidelines? Will this work be performed under permits according to the DEP Freshwater Wetlands Protection Act rules that became effective in January of this year, as has been recommended by the Princeton Environmental Commission? Next, e-bike safety, in particular with regards to charging. We've heard that there's going to be space in the garage. What about the fire safety associated with charging these bicycles inside garages? Should indoor e-bike charging and fire safety be handled under a separate municipal ordinance? We heard about the number of outdoor parking spaces that could place a burden on street parking on Terhune and Grover. I'm curious to hear about the practical experience with tandem garages from other sites. Are people expected to only put their car in the garage and not in a surface parking spot if they have a garage? And then finally, there is a New Jersey snow removal and disposal policy. And with the limited amount of space that is not in wetlands and not in detention basins, where is snow going to be piled in the winter? Those are all of the concerns that I have. I think I have some suggestions on how to address some of this, one of which is make the project smaller. Keep the same number of affordable housing units, reduce the overall size of the plan, and some of these things could be solved. You could move the buildings away from the environmentally sensitive area. You could integrate the affordable units in with the market rate units. You could move all of the units closer to Thanet and public transportation, rather than having many of the units quite far away. And then lastly, freeing up that, what I'll call the eastern side of the tributary, you could have a community garden, you could have a dog park, and you could make the playground even more attractive.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nalen. And I, for the board and for the public, relative to our 3-minute rule/guideline, when a member of the public is posing questions as well as expressing, opinions and providing advice, I think of the questions as outside the 3 minutes, and because it's important that people be able to pose whatever questions they have, and so. Again, thank you for those questions, Mr. Nail, and we want to hear from, I think there will be a lot of people who are testifying tonight or, offering comment, and we will come back to these questions that you've raised and address them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mateo 11, and then David Newton after that.
If you could raise your right hand, I'm not seeing.
I'm not seeing that person yet either. Is okay.
Is he?
No, here we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Hi, everybody. Matteo Di Tommaso. Let me see if I can rename my profile here so you can have the spelling of my name as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Muller will swear you in, and you'll have to spell your name anyway.
That's all right.
If you could raise your right hand. If you could raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth?
Yes.
So sworn or affirmed. Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Matteo Di Tommaso, last name Ditommaso.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Planning Board members and Toll Brother representatives. I'm a resident of Governor's Lane, and I'm reading into the record the substance of a letter that we sent on May 1st, 2026, from the Governor's Lane Condominium Association that was signed by David Wetherill. Governor's Lane is a 65-home community that shares a property line with the proposed 85-unit development at 29 Thanet. Respecting the 3-minute rule, I'll try to summarize the letter's content and ask that the letter be admitted full into the record. We want to be clear from the outset that we recognize and support Princeton's goals for affordable housing, and we welcome new neighbors. And what we're asking for are conditions to any approval that address our concerns of the HOA and time to understand the conditions that the planning board is also requiring before approval. Our letter made 4 requests on behalf of the association and its members, and the first were all related to ensuring we have documented safety and compliance information, which appears to be incomplete in what is available to us today on the Princeton website, to allow for independent technical reviews in 4 areas. The impact of the recently changed stormwater management system, where the redesign was submitted on April 24th, so that we can verify the new design addresses the deficiencies of the earlier design and does not pose a risk to sensitive environmental areas or to our property or neighboring properties. The fire flow test from July 27th, 2020, given this one on the application is from 2020, before Avalon and Princeton Senior Living and the Alice were built on the same road. We'd like to ask that this be updated before approval, as it could result in site changes if there were, for some reason, not an appropriate fire flow test. Confirmation of sewer capacity was not something we could find from Stony Brook Regional Sewerage Authority, which we did not see in the materials provided on Princeton's site. And given the volume of recent and planned development, a traffic study, particularly at Terhune Road and North Harrison intersection, that considers the cumulative development impact between 2020 and 2026 in this developed area. Expert review of fire and safety risks around hydrants is the second element. The third, a sufficient barrier and boundary screening to ensure the privacy and green space along our shared border, including requesting a masonry wall and appropriate mature trees that would give appropriate screening, with an appropriate plan to ensure survival of that screening, because we've certainly seen that screening is sometimes put in and you can walk up and down Terhune today and see the dead trees that have been put in. Fourth, a formal construction management plan, so that it covers some of the things that Carlo mentioned as well around noise and dust from the construction, with some escalation path in order to raise concerns or questions to the developer for the work on our boundary. And given the views on flood and extreme weather risks have been changing significantly, we also note that the New Jersey freshwater wetlands letter of interpretation expires this August and predates all of the other development in this area. And we ask that the updated permits be confirmed before approval. And overall, I would ask, based on this evening's discussion, if the list of conditions of approval that the board is requesting would be shared transparently before a vote of approval. And we respectfully submit these requests with the intent of ensuring a safe, compliant, and respectful development for everyone, the new residents, the neighbors, and the town. And we appreciate the planning board's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. DiTomaso.
Thank you.
Next up, we have David Newton, and then Sam Bunting, and then Fabian Paulo. Somebody bring over Mr. Newton. Welcome, Mr. Newton. You need to, there you go, active, all good. Okay. Mr. Mueller, would you swear Mr. Newton in, please?
You can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do indeed.
So sworn or affirmed, please state your full name, spell your last name.
My full name is David S. Newton, Newton, and I live at 49 Governor's Lane, where I've lived for the last 29 years.
Welcome. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm a long-time resident. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm a long-time resident of this town. I've been involved with the business in this town for a long time, and I've pretty much seen over the last 43 years the stuff that's been built and hasn't been built and everything going on. I would like to start off by just giving one word of gratitude to your Vice Chair, Mr. O'Donnell, who kind of nailed it, or my objection to what's going on in the first meeting. He asked Toll Brothers or Toll Brothers representative whether they had come to Governor's Lane to at least talk a little bit about the plans. And the Toll Brothers representative, I don't think it was Mr. I don't think it was Mr. Tarr, but said, "I do not believe that they were approached." And Mr. O'Donnell basically answered, well, I've always found, or words to the effect, Mr. O'Donnell said, I don't take your words, but I've always found that approaching the neighbours tends to be an advantageous thing. And as far as I'm concerned, that Toll Brothers has not approached these neighbours, meaning Governor's Lane. They have approached nobody in the immediate vicinity to talk about this project. And why I think it reeks of a tiny bit of arrogance, and I hate to say this regarding Mr. Tarr, who I've known for many years, who I think is a superb lawyer and also a very, very well-mannered person. But I think why it reeks of arrogance on somebody's part is because we know that Toll Brothers has an option on the Italian American Sporting Club where they probably need some type of approval from Governor's Lane. But regarding this thing where they didn't think they needed anything from us, they managed to totally ignore any of our concerns regarding screening, regarding the trees they're putting in, regarding the water levels. Again, I'm for their project. I want them to build here. But on the other hand, I also believe in good manners. And that has basically failed on us. And I think that as the chair, I would really appreciate that before anything is approved here, that Toll has the good manners to come and speak to us, because as far as I'm concerned, with screening and a number of other issues, we've been totally left in the cold and totally left out in the cold. And that Toll, if nothing else, has to be reminded that Princeton, maybe as English, I talk too much about good manners, not having any particular good ones myself. But I think in the normal course of things, I think they should have approached us and they should have spoken to us. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. Appreciate that. And we will ask the applicant to address the screening and other issues that have been raised by you and others tonight. Let's see, let's bring over Sam Bunting. And then after that is Fabian Paulo. And as of now, there are only those two hands up. So if you would like to address the board, I'll remind you that now is the time to virtually raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if you want to address the board. Welcome, Mr. Bunting.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yeah, so swear.
So sworn or affirm. Please state your full name, spell your last name.
Samuel Bunting, Bunting.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, so I had a few comments and a couple of questions about the application. And first of all, I wanted to say that what a great job the board has done with the scrutiny of this application, in particular with the in-depth scrutiny of the affordable units, which I think we all care about very much. And sometimes I think it's ironic that we spend so much time quizzing these developers who are trying to build affordable housing about their plans, But then when somebody wants to build a McMansion with no affordable units at all, they don't even have to come before this board. But that's the way it is. And, I think that the board has done a good job. And in fact, I also had a couple of questions about the affordable units. One thing which I think is really good about this plan is that it provides for sale affordable units, because the vast majority of affordable units which are constructed in Princeton and elsewhere in New Jersey are rentals. And rentals are great. I've lived in rentals, but people often like to have their own place. And this development would provide units at a price point which ordinary people can potentially afford, which can place them on a property ladder. And I think that's a real strength. And so the two questions that I had, one is kind of a broad question. What are the obstacles? Why do we see so few for sale inclusionary developments? Mr. Rankamp talked about perhaps there's an issue with providing mortgage finance, but I don't understand why are developers not providing a greater selection of for sale affordable units like this? And then my second question is more specific. And we touched on this, but I don't think I quite got the level of detail that I was interested in about the condo fees. So my understanding is this is a condo development. The different homeowners in the development, both the market rate and the affordable rate, will be members of a condo association. So my question is, do they pay the same condo fee? If the condo fee is like $1,000 a month for the regular units, is it $1,000 a month for the affordable units as well? Or do they get some slack cut to them? I'm sure that's probably something which is known or is perhaps even governed by the uniformed housing controls. But I would just like to get some clarification on that if possible. That's all I got.
All right, good. Thank you. We will circle back to those questions, I promise. Bring over, please, Fabian Paulo. And then after that is a person identified as Catherine.
Mr. Paulo.
Fabian, if you would activate your camera and unmute yourself, please. Thanks.
Yep.
If you can raise your hand.
Yeah, Fabien Paulo, P-A-U-L-O-T.
If you swear or affirm the testimony about to give be the truth.
Yeah, I do.
So I just want to affirm. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having this meeting. I just have two a bit exotic requests, but a bit different, I think. So my first one is related to the reasoning by the master plan when the property was rezoned. If I remember well, it was found that by converting office space into housing, that would reduce inbound commute and reduce the reliance on cars. And I think that's a really good outcome, but there was no data based on previous development to support this hypothesis. So I'm hoping that with this development and for all future developments, you will make it a requirement to have an effort to verify whether the sort of the hypothesis that you made at the early stage of the planning can be verified. Because it could work, and I'll be the first one cheering up, but it could also increase outbound commutes since so many businesses are outside of town. So I just would like to know, and I think that would be really good data for the town for future planning. My second request is actually also for the planning board. One thing I'm missing today is a discussion of this development as part of a much bigger development north of the shopping center. If I'm not mistaken, when it's all done, the planning board will have approved, I believe it's 732 units to the north, and they're all next to each other. And I think there are 180 maybe or so to the south of the shopping center. So it's probably the neighborhood that has seen the most development in recent years. And I don't think there's been any discussion by this board of the combined impact of all these developments. And for me, many of these impacts are very positive. I think it makes the neighborhood much more lively. It provides housing to people. That's great. But there are also some negatives or things that should be accounted for that I think are missed if you plan for each development independently of each other. So on the street I live on Grover Avenue, which is immediately to the south. So there's been a pretty significant change in traffic pattern, traffic flows, and speeding. That's okay. I think it comes with density. But the speeding part, I think, conflicts with the fact that it's supposed to be a back boulevard. So it's difficult to have it as a bypass for Harrison, which I think is becoming more and more, and a bike boulevard. And I think if it had been planned or if it had been discussed, so 700 units together, I'm sure the planning board would have imposed some condition on the applicant and there would have been some effort to mitigate the issue. But because it has not been, it doesn't seem that there is any mechanism for this board or maybe for the council to invest in and sort of mitigating those negatives. And I think that's unfortunate. I think it will sell density to my neighbor a lot better if there could be some investment, because I can say I'm not the majority in being very happy about this development. Many of my neighbors are not so happy, and in part because of the change in traffic. So I would really appreciate if there could be some discussion of what, if anything, is being done and whether that could be implemented at the same pace as those buildings are coming up, because I think that's important to have the same timeline. Like, you know, if it comes 5 years from now, like, it's a little bit late. So I would appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we will bring over Catherine. And then a hand just went up, identified as Gov Lane 32. And then after that, Vanessa Ying. So bring over Catherine, please.
Okay.
Welcome.
Oh, okay. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give be the truth?
I do.
Those who want to affirm, please state your full name and spell your last name.
My name is Catherine McCurdy. It's McCurdy.
Welcome. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, and wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak and really appreciate all the work that's been done so far by this committee. I'm a resident of Avalon Thanet Circle, and I fully support the creation of new and affordable housing, as my own family actually benefited from the recent development in this area when we moved here. But living here, it's also given me firsthand experience with some of the environmental impacts of the rapid development and intensive landscaping practices that I've seen. In particular, my main concern is the continued loss of the mature trees and forested areas. In recent years, as you know, a really significant woodland has already been cleared for the nearby multiple developments, including my own. And this proposal will remove another 180 trees. I submitted a letter today to the board with a little bit more information as well as some images around that. And understanding that replacement trees and native plantings are important, they can't replicate the ecological benefits having mature forests that have been around for decades. And to be honest, I'm also very concerned about the long-term maintenance practices with these developments, particularly the repeated use of chemicals, or pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers around the sensitive waterways. Here, where I live at Avalon Thanet Circle, I've regularly observed pesticides and other chemicals being applied very close to Harry's Brook. I measured it out and it's about 40 feet. And it's also an area where turtles regularly lay eggs. And these chemicals are known to harm wildlife, ecosystems, and really overall the health of the watershed itself. So I respectfully ask the board if they could consider a few questions as part of the review. And one would be, does the applicant have any kind of long-term pesticide or landscape kind of chemical management plan? Will you somehow use integrated pest management to minimize the chemicals used? Further, how will the board ensure that chemical applications around Harry's Brook and other sensitive areas are actually restricted? I know they're in the plan, and I likely were in the plan here at Avalon Thanet Circle as well, but in practice, it does not seem to be present. And then finally, what protections actually will exist to preserve the functioning wildlife habitat and reduce the long-term ecological harm. So thank you so much for your time. I respectfully urge the board to require stronger environmental protections like preservation of mature trees, reduce the turf grass, better stream buffers, and long-term ecological stewardship plans that minimize the use of chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our next person coming over, I think a hand actually went down, is Gov Lane 32. Okay, and then after that person, Vanessa Ying. So bring over Gov Lane 32.
If you could raise your right hand.
And you'll need to unmute yourself as well, sir. Great.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth?
I do.
So sworn or affirm. Please state your full name and spell your last name.
My name is Jun Zhang, Junzhang.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunities. I'm also a resident of the Governance Lane. My fellow neighbors have already addressed many of our concerns, but I want to highlight the property line between the Governance Lane and 29 Thanet Circle. I think we need a proper privacy screening here during the constructions and also after it is finished. And we have a lot of concern because the development site is so close to our house. And we're worried about that, the extra noise and the people using this area as a shortcut to walk through. While using the plants has been suggested, but I feel like the landscaping is just not enough. And the bushes and trees cannot block the loud construction noise, and they will not physically stop people from cutting through. So in order to protect our privacy and keep the area quiet, I think we should probably consider solid fence and wall instead of just plants. So I really appreciate the board and taking the time to listen to our concerns. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang. So let's bring over Vanessa Ying. And I'll say one more time, if you want to address the board, now's the time to raise your hand. As of right now, Vanessa Ying is the last person who raised their hand.
Is she here? Oh, okay.
Yep, I just saw the box pop up and yep.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give be the truth?
I do.
So sworn or affirm, please state your full name and spell your last name.
My name is Vanessa Ying, last name Y-I-N-G. Thank you so much for organizing the meeting and for listening to our concerns. I am a resident living on Governor's Lane, and it's related to what June said earlier, but I would like to raise reiterate a concern regarding noise control during the construction process for the proposed Toll Brothers development at the 29th Thanet. So given the proximity to this proposed development to the existing homes on Governor's Lane and as well as nearby neighborhoods, I believe that this is essential for to minimize construction-related noise, and this to be addressed in a concrete and enforceable way before the project proceeds further. So it should include general assurance of that the construction will comply with applicable or regulations, and also there should be a clearer explanation of what specific measurements will be required to minimize disruptions to nearby neighborhoods. And that's like my whole concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will explore that. Okay, so seeing no other hands up, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting and go back to the start of my notes where Mr. Nayland raised several issues. He asked about the demolition plan for the current structures and whether or not the applicant is aware of any asbestos, the plans to control airborne debris, the plans for the pedestrian bridge, and whether or not they need to comply with the recently adopted strengthened stormwater management rules. And he asked about DEP review, which I understand is separate from our role, but should probably be explained by Jim Purcell or whoever is the appropriate person. He asked about e-bike safety and specifically measures to ensure that charging e-bikes inside the garage areas would be done safely. So that's not the end of the questions, but I'll stop there because I don't want to just keep asking questions or posing questions without giving the applicant an opportunity to respond. So let's start with the demolition and that kind of thing.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I can certainly speak about the demolition. We did do an asbestos test on this building, which is typical for us to do before any demo. So prior to actually demoing the building, we did discover that there was some asbestos in the carpet mastic that they used from a long time ago. So that will be taken care of by one of our vendors, abiding by all state and local regulations for that removal. Once that's removed, then we will move forward with the actual demolition of the building itself.
And when that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Carr.
No, I was going to move to the next. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I was going to fold in a concern raised by Ms. Ying about disruption and noise. Are you, do you need to observe statutes or local ordinances related to noise decibel level during demolition and construction? And do you know what hours you'll be operating and that kind of thing? Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Yeah, we'll certainly work within the hours that the town allows. I think it's Monday to Friday, it's I believe 7 to 4 or something like that, and then Saturday they would have some hours. But understanding the board's concern with noise here, we can certainly restrict any demolition to do that like kind of during the week and not interrupt someone's weekend and work on the weekend when it comes to demolition, but can certainly keep that Monday to Friday within the working hours that the town allows us. That's allowed by the town, I mean.
And what about noise levels?
So noise level, it would be along the same lines of what you would hear during normal construction, where you would have the setting of trusses, nailing, things like that. Like normal construction noise is what you can expect when we're doing demolition. We'll have a big machine out there to knock the building down. It's not what you would expect, like with a big wrecking ball kind of thing that you might be used to seeing. It'll be done and taken down in stages and level, and not just one big loud boom, if you would, for lack of a better word. I don't know the exact decibels of what it would produce, but I can say it would be along the normal, what you would expect from construction.
Mr. Purcell, I saw you turn your camera on, so I assume you got something to say.
Well, this board has in the past placed conditions on applicants, particularly the university, on monitoring adjacent properties with acoustic equipment to determine that they are not exceeding the state mandated levels of noise trespass on other properties. That could be a condition here. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Do you plan on erecting any kind of barrier during demolition and construction between your property and neighboring properties?
Yeah, so
Other
we'll
than
have,
the silt fence kind of thing, I'm talking about a,
yeah, so we'll have a fence around with to prevent dust and all that from escaping the site, if you would. But I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, but that's what our plan would be. That again, it would be any like kind of typical to what you would see in construction. If that kind of answers your question. I don't know if you have something in particular in mind or.
well, I guess I think what the neighbors were asking about, and so it's what I was curious about is the possibility of a structure at or just before the property line that would form a physical barrier that wouldn't necessarily be a soundproofing, but one more
A fence, I guess, if you would, we can
level of
certainly.
protection and separation from the project. And I see Mr. Cohen has his hand up too. So David, you want to add to my?
Yeah, and actually I wanted to sort of combine this question with the question of screening, which several of the residents asked about. In particular, Jun Zhang was suggesting that a permanent wall rather than planting might be the more appropriate type of screening. And so that could be visual in the long term, but with the right kind of wall, it could also have the benefit of some acoustic screening. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about that. I don't think it's in the current plan, and you're very tight to the property line with the driveway that runs along the back of the property. So part of the question is what could fit there. Another part of the question would be if the residents of Governor's Lane was amenable, would you be willing to put something on their side of the property line if you can't fit it on your side? So
Yeah,
it's
I can certainly speak to that, and I'll take that in two different parts if you don't mind. One for the demolition of the building, which we can certainly put a fence up there for screening purposes, like a temporary chain link fence, just to kind of screen anything that anyone would be seeing. It wouldn't 100% help with the noise, but certainly visually, it would help a lot.
Chain link fence with a fabric
right, exactly
on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yes. So we can certainly do that. And I think we plan and intend to do that anyways, because it's very typical for us to do. With regards to the fence and the screening on top of the wall, there's a wall there with landscaping on top that I believe Dan had went over. We're perfectly fine with adding more landscaping there. We planned on doing that because we did agree to walk the site with Mr. Dobromilski. The only issue with putting a fence on top of there is it would require maintenance and then easement, because then you have to get on the other side of it and you want to clean it. We think we can provide enough screening there with any type of vegetation that Mr. Dobromilski recommends to give the same visual effect of screening, but then not like a solid barrier that would require maintenance in the long term and getting access on both sides of it, if that makes sense.
This brings us to the point of whether or not to go to the landscape subcommittee and work through these in detail. That was recommended to us, and Toll is amenable to that. it seems to be, generally speaking, a better environment with more time able to be spent working with the subcommittee.
I agree with that, Mr. Carr. I do think that we should probably decide here whether or not some kind of a permanent fence or wall needs to be a condition. I personally am very ambivalent about that. I understand the desire for separation and the good fences, good neighbors principle. At the same time, I feel queasy about putting up a wall between neighborhoods. And it just does not feel comfortable. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes, when the walkthrough is done with Mr. Dobromilski, would it be possible to have Mr. Wetherill, who's the president of the Governor's Lane Condominium Association, be part of that walkthrough?
Yeah, we would have no issues with that pertaining to, because part of the walk is where that screening area is with Governor's Lane. So certainly we would like we'd like to get their input on what would go up there. You know, I'm in completely agreement with you, Madam Chair, that putting up a fence up there kind of just breaks a barrier where we think that landscaping can provide the same benefit. There's no walking lane or travel lane. I don't think anyone's going to be climbing up on walls to get over into Governor's Lane. So I think landscaping can get the job done there. And we're certainly open to a member of Governor's Lane looking at that particular area with us and Mr. Dobromilski.
Thank you very much.
Can you speak a little bit to the pedestrian bridge and the compliance with real rules, the new stormwater rules and that kind of thing?
Daniel's popped up, so he wants to talk.
Yes, I know what I don't know, so and it's all yours.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, that's a good question. So actually tomorrow, we're submitting our formal application to the DEP, which includes necessary permits for some utility crossings that will be going underneath that stream, as well as the bridge replacement. So those are general permits that the DEP will review, and we fully intend on being able to comply with all of the conditions of that general permit. As far as new real rules, while yes, the rules were adopted beginning of this year, they are not yet in effect, potentially going into effect come July. So we will be submitted well in advance of those rules and essentially compliant with the rules that were that are still effective, that are not those New Jersey real rules. However, it's important to note that a lot of the rules in this new rule change that's coming out is applied to coastal areas of the state. There's some minor nuances that impact stormwater management, but not greatly different from the stormwater management design that we're currently intending to propose and construct, which again would be fully compliant green infrastructure designs, and will comply with all of the current stormwater standards that the state has put in place. So in short, it'll be a fully compliant and likely a fully permitted development from the DEP.
Okay.
Chair,
just as I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I just heard something from Tan that I hadn't heard before. You said bridge replacement? Did you?
The pedestrian bridge, we're likely replacing it in kind.
Okay. That was not.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my first in my testimony last hearing. We're resurfacing the existing vehicle bridge, but the pedestrian bridge we've evaluated. It's still in good structural standing, but likely going to just replace it. Makes it easier to make ADA compliant and align with those existing sidewalks, but it'll be in the same exact spot and the same footprint that it's currently located in.
Okay. I missed that you were planning on replacing it, and it's not an issue on my side.
Yep, sorry.
I'm glad you're replacing it. The second thing is, and I know Joe Scupian's with us this evening, but you know, we've spent a lot of time with Dynamic to make sure that all of the stormwater management is compliant. And, we are satisfied that they have met all of our needs and requirements. So that to me is not an issue. Of course, as Dan just testified, they will be getting the appropriate permits from NJDEP. From that standpoint, I think the board and the public can be satisfied that the environmental impacts from stormwater management and flood hazard area and riparian are being met.
Thanks, Jim.
And if I could just ask, Jim, is there anything from Joe Scupian's letter that has yet to be addressed or that need to be made conditions of approval? Or has everything at this point been updated to both of your satisfaction?
I'll let Joe answer that question since he's available right now.
Yeah, thanks for asking. In my report of, on my report of April 30th, comments 2 through 8, I have not received any replies on those. Comment number 1 is the issue of the drainage area to the converted detention basin, and that one's been already resolved. But comments 2 through 8, I would need to have some response to.
Yeah, Joe, let me just interrupt. Have I sworn you in yet? You were not sworn in the last time, were you?
I'm sorry, say that again, sir.
Did I swear you in at the last session?
No. Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you
Yes.
did. Last
Okay.
session.
Yes, he
certainly.
testified.
So 2 through 8, is that like 4 pages of text, or can you summarize what you haven't heard back on?
So I just want to note that when we did resubmit our last resubmission letter, May 14th, 2026, it was a all-inclusive response memo to the various comments that we received. And we did respond to Mr. Scupian's comments. All the comments were essentially minor in nature, in our opinion, and we have no problems revising our plans to essentially meet his requests.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and I'm afraid it was an oversight of my office that we did not provide him with a copy of it. So, Joe, we'll get that to you tomorrow.
Fine. Yeah, and I agree. They're very chairman or chairperson. You don't really want me to go through them. They're
I didn't think I did, but I
They're
also
technical.
didn't-
yeah, they're technical.
Very technical, yes.
Okay.
I will review them once I receive them and respond.
Well, and I appreciate that. I heard Mr. Senal. Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry if I'm Mr. Senal, Daniel.
Schnall.
Sorry, I was
No,
not
sorry.
as muted, but very close. But Chanel, yes, that's
Senal.
impressive.
Okay.
I'll take it.
So
He
sorry.
said that they accepted all of them and yeah, so I think we're good with 2 through 8. That you still need to take a look at their responses, but what I heard is that they are agreeing to everything that you've suggested or asked.
Exactly. The first comment was probably the largest, but that was one that we've previously worked through with Mr. Scupian, and as he mentioned, we've already addressed that. We're in agreement on that one. The rest of them, the other 7, will be no issue.
Okay. Can somebody please speak to e-bike safety and meaning relative to charging the e-bikes? There was a, time there when there were lots of, seemed to be in the city anyway, in New York City, quite a few fires associated with e-bike charging. I think it was almost always with, batteries that were not properly manufactured or whatever. But so can someone speak to who on the municipal side inspects or otherwise ensures that the facilities for bike charging are provide for a safe charging environment.
Is there going to be any bike charging facilities? I haven't heard anything about that.
It's, I mean, as the owner of an e-bike, I can tell you that there are no facilities. I mean, it's like an adapter that you would plug your toothbrush, your electric toothbrush into. I mean, it's bigger than that, but every bike comes with its own charger. They're all different. They plug into a regular wall outlet. I think it's beyond the municipality to have the capability to look at, hundreds or thousands of chargers throughout town and decide which ones are safe and which ones are not safe. So I'm not saying it's not a valid concern. The good thing is that, if it's happening in the garage, a garage is separated with a fire separation from the living space. So, I mean, just by code. So at least that's something, but.
Yeah. And the other good thing
would be something in the HOA documents or something about, UL listed or otherwise.
That's a good thought. Yeah, that's a good thought.
Because it's black market batteries that cause the problem. It's inferior batteries. It's not batteries that are sold with e-bikes and okay.
And when there was testimony about EV charging stations in garages, that was for vehicles, not for bikes, right?
Well, the bike storage is in the garages too, though.
Right. So bike charging happens in the garage or in the bike storage area. So yeah, I'm sure I framed it in a confusing way. Would someone speak just briefly to the practical implications of tandem parking? Has Toll found with other projects that that it presents problems?
I can take that one on. We haven't found any issues with it. We typically do restrict our garage in our HOA docs that garages are just meant for parking and not storage, which by that makes people have the space that they need in their garage to park their cars and not just use it for storage and then park elsewhere. So that's how we've seemed to address it.
I think part of the concern though was because it is tandem, and if you were to have a two-car family, that one of the drivers, in order to get out, would simply park in the surface parking, as opposed to parking in the garage and have to do the shuffle with the other driver. So I think that sounded like it was the concern. So could you speak to that as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's kind of impossible for us to really police that. It's kind of just when you live in this type of neighborhood, that's what you're getting into. You kind of just park accordingly. Like, hey, if someone needs to get up earlier than the other person to get to work, then naturally so they'll park behind that person. It's a tough question to answer, and it's a tough thing to police at the same time. I hope you can kind of understand that. As far as people having their cars, I mean, we are providing them spaces. We are restricting the garage just for parking. And I think that's the limit of what we can do unless there's another recommendation that you guys have for that. We can certainly entertain it.
Yeah, I think we've heard in testimony in other cases that they basically don't work, and that that second space behind, I guess you would say, the car that's in the garage, that people don't park there and they park in surface parking somewhere.
And I just comment, it's no different than most residential driveways where one person parks in front of the other. I know some houses do have double wide driveways, but throughout town, our residents are dealing with having to share a driveway and with another driver and their family.
Yeah. I hate myself for extending this conversation about parking, but I do have one question, and that is, for the people who are entitled to, who are in affordable units but don't have a garage and therefore are entitled to a parking spot, are they assigned a parking spot? Are there Yes. Okay,
Yes, they
good.
will be assigned a parking spot. Yes.
Okay.
But that's in that response letter.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that.
If I could just ask if very quickly while we're on that subject, because it was just something I wanted to parse out. How will those be designated, like signed, in terms of what language is actually going to be used to designate those spots? Is it just reserved, and then people know what spots they're in, or is it going to be reserved for unit X?
We will put reserve for unit X on there. So there, whatever unit it may be, so there's no confusion about who gets what, and everyone's transparent with exactly which parking space goes to their unit.
And that was indicated on the recent exhibit that was supplied to us.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So the last question that Mr. Nayland asked was about where the snow would be piled. And I want to follow up on that because there are areas right outside the area of disturbance that are either stormwater management or in a conservation easement. So I am curious about whether there is, not to, ask for the snow piling up plan at this moment, but are there spots where you can push the snow that you're not pushing it into, snow that's already got, salt or some other melting agent in it? You're not pushing it into the stream. You're not pushing it into a conservation easement area. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, sure. So the conservation easement is more towards the center of the site by the tributary. We do believe there's ample space around the site to push the snow. Of course, depending on how severe the storm is. I mean, if we get feet of snow, then we would have to come up with a plan to remove it off site. But we believe on a normal snowfall, we have space around the site. And we can certainly put together on our landscaping plan, just do an overlay of a snow removal plan.
Okay,
as part of compliance, just to show you guys where those locations are.
Good, great, thank you. Mr. Di Tommaso asked about documenting safety and compliance that I think has to do with demolition and construction. And he also had a question about the new stormwater rules and whether they apply, which I think you've addressed. He asked for a technical review before the board approves or acts on this application. He asked for an updated fire flow test, or whether one had been conducted. He asked for confirmation of sewer capacity. And he posed a question that I think was answered at our last meeting about a traffic study and whether or not it took into account the cumulative growth, from other new developments in the vicinity. And I was pleased to learn at that time that the traffic analysis did take into account all of those other new dwellings. So could you speak to safety and compliance during demolition and construction? And can you speak to the fire flow test and sewer capacity?
Yeah, certainly. With regards to safety during construction, we have an on-site team there with construction managers. Every time there's someone on site working, there's a toll representative on site with them overlooking this. We do have safety protocol throughout. We're doing regular safety inspections of the site. Unless that's kind of just like a generic statement for what we do on site as we're building. As you've learned at Terhune, we kind of do the same processes there. If there's a more particular question I can answer on safety, I'm happy to do that. But we just have like our normal on-site personnel walking the site, inspecting, making sure all of our contractors are abiding by our normal safety protocol. with regards to sewer and water, this is a New Jersey American site, so we'll certainly we did do a flow test, but as working with New Jersey American, they're required we give them all the unit configurations with the flow and come up with the flow rate and make sure they can adequately provide water to our site. We have a will serve letter from them, and so we can certainly, that's one of the steps in the process of approval. With regards to sewer, that is part of the outside agencies that we need to go to, the local, the regional, and eventually the state to get a treatment works application. So all that would be part of outside agency approvals that we need to obtain still.
And those typically, Mr. Mueller, those outside approvals are
They're
listed
typical conditions of approval.
Conditions
Yeah.
of approval, right?
I went, Madam Chair, I'm jumping in again, Jim Purcell. I do have a concern, and one of the members of the public brought it up. I do have a concern about the construction, and a construction management plan sounds like a really good idea. My biggest concern is dust control. We've seen too many projects in Princeton where dust control is not taken seriously. And I would like to see a detailed plan, not just a plan sheet, but a program as a document of how not only dust is going to be handled, but soil erosion, sediment control. As I mentioned before, I'm concerned about the tributary to Harry's Brook, and also the neighboring communities, and the impact of construction on those communities. And I'm going to suggest that to be extra careful, the tributary to Harry's Brook actually have some check dams and soil erosion sediment barriers placed in them, because the construction is so close that just in case there's a problem, we do not need a flood of mud flowing down into Harry's Brook. So it would be, I would like to make that I would like to be able to approve a construction management program from Toll Brothers, if that could be a condition of approval.
I think it, Jim, I think it definitely should be right along the lines that you just described.
Yeah, I can kind of jump in on that too, Jim, as well, along with the BMPs. And I agree with you. We can work on that plan with your office, along with the typical BMPs. We do have a weekly stormwater inspection by a third party to ensure that everything is in place as it should be. But certainly happy to work with you on that plan.
Thank you.
And if I could I wanted to follow up on the fire flow test, because Alex, it felt like the flow test you were talking about was for domestic, service to the buildings. The specific question was that there was a fire flow test done in 2020 and whether that was updated. And it seems reasonable to think that it might have been updated. I don't know if Daniel has an answer to that.
Yeah, November of last year, we completed a fire flow test.
Okay, great. Yeah, I thought it seemed likely that that would have been done.
Good. Thank you for that.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So will that flow test be provided as part of the record?
We certainly can. There's no reason why we need to hold on to it.
Okay. We can make that a condition of approval as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, and then there was a question about the letter of interpretation, the LOI from DEP. Is that something that can you talk about the status of that?
Yep, it is still active and current. As I mentioned earlier, we're planning on making our submission, our formal application to the DEP for the various wetland permits that we need tomorrow. And as long as the application is received and deemed complete while that wetlands LOI is still valid, then we're in good shape. If a wetlands LOI expires while the permit is under review, it's still considered to be valid. But we also have the option to seek the extension of that LOI for an additional 5 years, which we could pursue if needed.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Newton asked about screening, which we're going to look at in detail at the landscape subcommittee. Mr. Bunting asked about a general question about obstacles to for sale inclusionary projects, but specific to this, was asking about the homeowner association fees, and do all residents pay the same fees? If we tackle the first question about obstacles, I don't want to take more than 90 seconds on that, because we are, we'll have a hard stop at 11 o'clock. But if there is a short, concise answer to that question, I'm happy to hear it. I see, Cray, that you are ready to talk. Go.
And I'll make it short. From 85 to 2001, if an affordable unit defaulted, the bank could remove the deed restriction to make up for any damage in the foreclosure. After 2001, they were not allowed to, and mortgage money dried up. In recent years, HMFA has made money available, and banks are starting to return to the marketplace. So it was a regulatory change that completely changed mortgage availability starting in 2001.
Huh. Good to know. Thank you. Condo fees, HOA fees.
With regards to the HOA fees, we do what's called a percent interest. So basically, based on how large the square footage of the home is, because they're taking care of the exteriors of it and whatnot. The larger the square footage of the home, the more the HOA fee would be versus. So a lesser square footage, like a 1-bedroom square foot in the affordable housing, would pay a lesser amount because they have a smaller square footage of living area versus what's in the market rate. We haven't determined those monthly fees yet, but that's generally how we establish it.
Is there any kind of cap on the HOA fees that can be charged to owners of affordable units?
I'm not 100% sure of that, but our goal always is to keep our HOA fees low.
It's the other way around. The HOA fees are part of the income in calculating your mortgage, so that what you're paying at the end of the day is the same regardless of how big the HOA fee is from the consumer's point of view.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to expand it out just a little bit, there's basically 30%. The idea is that to make it affordable, it has to be no more than 30% of whatever the household level is, moderate, low, very low. 30% of that is the cap. And the condo fees, as Cray said, those are incorporated into that 30%.
Good to know.
Okay. Yeah, that is good to know. Mr. Paolo asked about data supporting as I understood it, well, he was asking why this area was rezoned for housing. I think that broad question was asked and answered during the master plan process, but that redeveloping so-called stranded assets, commercial buildings that are not used and for which there is no market, is a good idea, especially when those assets are in close proximity to daily destinations, shopping, and jobs. And there is a lot of data to support that. Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanted to, he had a really specific question that seemed like a fantastic idea to me. and I think this is a question for Justin or Nathan, which is there any way for us to collect data on how many people who work in Princeton end up purchasing or renting units in the new developments that are going in versus how many people, move to Princeton, for instance, for this, but continue to commute to a job outside of Princeton. How much is our narrative of why we're trying to build housing succeeding? And I have no idea whether there's a way that we can collect that data, but I would love to if we could.
And there's a third category of people who work outside but move here and then find work in Princeton.
Sure.
It's
a moving target, obviously.
Yes, it is a moving target for sure.
I think, David, we get that data through census reports, some of it.
Do the census tell where people live and how much they commute? I don't think that's in the census.
They do. We have commuting data from the Census Bureau. It's not, it's based on a sampling. They use a sampling methodology, but that data is available. And NJ Future has actually done some interesting reports on that at the state level. I believe maybe looking at counties, municipalities in New Jersey.
But it's as a block, as a community. It doesn't go to.
It doesn't go to neighborhood level, perhaps, which is maybe what you want to see.
Or the new housing versus the old housing.
Yeah. No, but we can look at it in aggregate at the municipal level.
He also asked about investments to address cumulative impacts. And I felt in a way that was intended or not a softball question, because there have been a lot of investments in road connections and bike lanes and crosswalks and, reconfiguration of Harrison Street, et cetera, to in large part to address, not only existing, but anticipated additional traffic volume, additional pedestrians, additional bikes. Mr. Cohen, do you want to speak to that at all, or Mr. Purcell, or Justin Lesko?
I'm going to pass. I don't know if somebody else wants to.
Madam Chair, I have a brief reminder for everyone, if it's okay. This site was offered for affordable housing at the same time as Avalon Bay, and the municipality intentionally held this one out from the third round, saved it for the fourth round to phase development in the area, so it didn't happen all at once.
I'm going to take a pass on the question as well. It is a question that is being discussed at the council subcommittee level of the impact of the changes in the traffic patterns, not so much the amount of traffic. And we continue to discuss it, particularly at traffic safety.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
And Mr. Poulet's question was really specific to Grover Avenue.
Okay.
We do have discussions about that.
All right. Thank you. Justin Lesko?
And I need to be sworn in, Madam Chair.
Yes. Could you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Who are you?
Justin.
Oh, there you
I'm
are.
here, Jerry.
I swear or affirm the testimony about to give me the truth.
I do.
So sworn or affirmed.
Thank you. Yeah, and without going into too much detail, because I know the late hour and I'm losing my voice, you could start to see some of the ways in which we've made improvements to roads that previously did not have improvements. Like the extent crosswalks that are going over Terhune eventually to connect that new road that goes to the shopping center, which comes out nearby to Thanet. And then even the smaller ways that we've added benches on Thanet so that people can walk, take a seat, continue on their trip. We continue to investigate making more connections between these new developments Sometimes it was easier to do that based on timing. Other times we're kind of backing our way into it or working our way into it with different property owners. I think you will see that in future developments off North Harrison that will come to you as part of the fourth round. But we're really trying to make this that connect it kind of more of a neighborhood than a bunch of disparate developments. And I think there was even a suggestion at the last meeting that there be the potential in the future for a connection to Governor's Lane if the two sides could work that out. And we would want to kind of build it in so that if that compatibility between the neighborhoods and connection occurs, no one would have to come back to the board. So that's how we're trying to connect these things and not just these different projects and kind of future-proof other ones that might change and just continue to create these networks and make them kind of feel like a neighborhood, not just I live in X or I live in Y. It's more of I live in Princeton by the shopping center and I walk there to Rita's or to the gym or whatever else, and I pass by your house or I pass by your neighborhood. So that's the intention.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Justin. Catherine McCurdy raised questions about environmental impact and the loss of mature trees and forest. There are 180 trees being removed on this site. A whole lot of them are within a big parking area that's going to be covered with dwellings going forward, but there is an area of the woods that's being partially cleared. And I know board members share that concern. I certainly do. She asked about long-term maintenance and whether or not Toll subscribes to integrated pest management or other practices that minimize the use of pesticides, herbicides, etc., weed control. Sometimes these things have a life of their own with the homeowners association. I say guardedly. Toll, can you speak at all to your landscaping practices and what you do to make them child safe and pet safe and bird and pollinator safe?
Yeah, the quick answer is all the above on that. When we hire these landscapers, of course we know that kids will be traversing around the site, and we're very mindful of that. It's not like what you would see on a golf course where you're using these high potent chemicals of that nature. If there's certain things that the board wants us to, I don't know if there's elsewhere in the town where the board have restrictions on certain chemicals or whatnot, certainly open to looking at that. But throughout all of our developments in the state, we're very mindful of the chemicals that we're using, and it's not in violation of any laws, if that makes you feel any better. But if there's specific things that you guys have that you don't want landscapers to use, we're certainly open to looking and putting restrictions on that within our HOA docs.
Okay, well, let Freddie Perlmutter speak while I think about that. Freddie, you're on mute.
I have some comments related to some of this, and then I have some other, you may want me to wait, that some other environmental comments that are not land use, but they're certainly related to the development. But in terms of gardening and birds, etc., one of the things was that we wanted to see if they could put in a community garden or several community gardens, because there is no real private, there is no private open space. So in addition to just having landscaping, would it be possible to put in a community garden somewhere?
Oh, we did look into that, and I think Daniel, you had testified to that earlier in the first meeting. I mean, I can certainly field it unless you want want to just review how tight the space is on the site?
Yeah, it's a really tight space. We're largely confined by the conservation easement that runs through the vast majority of the wooded space that exists on the site, which means we have to stay completely outside of that. And in my opinion, it kind of adds a benefit to the site as well. It kind of provides a peaceful and an inviting community for the residents and kind of really tucks it away and hides it. Also, community gardens are really difficult to maintain when you have a group of residents. I know these are for sale, not rentals, so a little bit more benefit there. But a lot of times people show interest into it for a month or two, and then what we've seen over time is they kind of go a little bit neglected, and then it falls back onto toll to maintain them. And when that takes place, it usually ends up just being a landscape area, is kind of like what we've provided around here. We do provide some nice seating areas, especially up on Thanet Circle. There's a nice little seating area that's going to be tucked away into a proposed landscape area that will further enhance kind of the ecological value of the conservation easement that's up in that corner. So I think that almost acts as a garden, as well as several little seating areas. So right next to Building D, that's in the front portion of the site. There's not really a garden that someone can work on per se, but it is kind of a garden area with some seating, which adds some nice value to it. And then just for kind of adding some context to the environmental impacts in this site, honestly, it's my professional opinion that I think we're providing an enhancement to this site when under existing conditions. Because if you look at the site as it exists today, that existing office building as well as the parking area is right up on top of the tributary that goes through the center of the site. So they're paying no attention to the required riparian setbacks for that buffer. And with our proposed layout, we are actually restoring the riparian zone associated with the stream back to a natural condition. So we're pulling the buildings and the and any impervious surfaces away from that stream, allowing it to be replanted with green space. So that's going to add an additional buffer to that stream where none currently exists. And that buffer does several things. It provides, ecological value for different species and also shade for the stream to kind of keep it cooler, not getting a heat effect. But it also provides a way to kind of filter stormwater as it sheet flows towards the stream. It provides a green space for water to run through before it makes its way back to that stream for the areas that aren't actually being collected by our stormwater management system. So really, in my opinion, we're kind of restoring the site to a more of a natural condition while maintaining that existing conservation easement. Yes, we're taking down 180 trees, but we're also complying with the municipality's tree replacement requirement. We're providing 204 new trees. Yes, I know they're not going to be as big as the trees that are taken down, but fully compliant, and we're looking to, again, enhance and give back to the areas that we're taking away from.
I have some more questions, but do you want to finish?
No. Well, let's see. I think, no, go ahead with your next question, Freddie, go ahead.
We would like to see the roofing made, is it possible for the roofing to be solar ready?
Yes, we've agreed to put a conduit up there.
Okay. Do you follow construction standards such as LEED, or I'm going to get this wrong, B5, BD plus C for mid-rise multifamilies?
I imagine give me 1 second here. I know that this was one of the questions on the reviews that we sent over, so I don't want to misquote myself on that. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through here, but we're not pursuing
you're not doing LEED because it's not a LEED building, but the other one.
Right. I apologize. I'm trying to find where we responded back to that to get the actual wording that we have. So we are
page 7 of the letter.
Yeah. So we're not following LEED here, but we do follow certain things with as far as the building envelope goes, and making the buildings tight and more efficient with the ventilation. But LEED isn't something that we are pursuing here for this project.
Bird safe glass. Do you use bird safe glass?
Um,
Do you use bird safe glass?
yeah, we do. We're not proposing bird safe glass here. We do have mullions within the windows, and there's curtains here, so it's not like a huge office space building with long glass windows that birds will typically fly into. They are broken up with curtains and the mullions.
And casement windows, windows that you can open up and get fairly good air coming in.
We are not proposing casement windows here. We have the typical double hung windows as you would see in typical residential for this one, but we're not proposing any casement windows.
And the other issues, most of which we've spoken with before, really are dealing with the plantings, non-invasive plantings and things of that sort. If you can keep a lot of the old, more of the older trees, obviously, we would like to see that. We understand you've got to put trees down, obviously, to do your construction. But if you can save some of the old trees, the new young ones don't, in my view, really replace. It'll be a long time before they replace the big ones. But
right.
Whatever you can do to maintain as many of them as possible would be helpful.
Understood, and that's our goal, and we are certainly, again, that'll be part of when we're walking with and reviewing with the landscape committee. We can take a little bit more of a deeper dive into that and discuss it a little bit more.
Is that it, Freddie?
Yeah, I think that's it for now. Because most of the other issues dealt with the land use issues, and we've really talked a lot about those.
Yeah. I'm not in a position right now to, with regard to the landscape practices and integrated pest management and whatnot, to talk about, specific practices. But I would very much like to, because I have really good sources for information about this. I'd very much like to have a conversation about the landscape management plan, and maybe even before the landscape committee meeting, because if Toll could have an approach that is above and beyond, obviously very effective and a very beautiful site and responsible landscape management and everything, but with fewer inputs and none of those flags on the lawn that kids can't read that say warning. That would be great. So I appreciate your being open to that, and I'll look into it and channel some ideas through Justin, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, certainly. And I am no expert in landscaping by any means, but we're certainly happy to take any recommendations that you may have and certainly get it to one of our experts and just understand the impact of it and just work together to come up with a good resolution.
Yeah, because Ms. McCurdy was absolutely right about the very close proximity to, environmentally sensitive open waters and land.
Yep.
Okay, so that took us through the comments. Mr. Zhang talked about the physical barrier during and after construction. I gather you're willing to do a physical barrier, a chain link fence with a solid mesh screen during construction. I want to know what board members think about requiring a fence. I think I heard that we don't want to require a fence, but I don't want to just, I want to talk about that a little bit more. And then Ms. Ying was concerned about concrete and enforceable ways, measurable ways to make sure that there's noise control and control of disruption. So to that end, I was wondering, in addition to having a construction management plan, which is such an excellent idea, can Toll identify a point person for one leader of the homeowner association to communicate with, just so there are open communications between Toll and the neighboring and the Governor's Lane neighborhood for, just to keep those lines of communication open and address concerns directly and not have to send everything through the municipality?
Certainly. So when we set up a homeowner association and we start closing units, toll representatives have control of the board until 75% occupancy. And then we still have the president of the board is a toll employee until the final transition is completed. So there will always be a point person on the HOA that is.
No, I mean during construction. I'm sorry to cut you off. I mean somebody who has insight into the construction site and construction practices, and if there are, issues arise from the homeowners association next door.
Yep.
Who do they call? That's my.
Yes, we will have a point person that we have an on-site construction manager who will be the point person for any of those issues that come up.
Okay. Mr. Cohen?
I just wanted to give you a response on the question of the fence. I think it's so integrally tied to the question of the screen plantings. So I think it should be, again, I think that should be referred to the landscape subcommittee where, so we can really understand what's possible with plantings there.
Thanks. That's wise as usual, Mr. Cohen. Thank you. All right. Mr. Mueller, are you in a position to start going through what we've talked about by way of conditions? Are we there yet?
Yeah, I could do that. I think the better bet, to tell you the truth, because there's an awful lot of them, is for me to draft a set of conditions and at the next meeting of the board to basically go over it. I can do it now, but there's a lot of stuff. And if you'd like me to, I certainly will, Madam Chair. But I thought just because there's no doubt, I have no doubt that whatever we discuss now, I'm going to come back to the board with the conditions, and we're going to go over them point by point, just to see if we're comfortable with them. So however you want to handle it.
Well, that sounds like a good approach to me. If other board members disagree, I'd like to hear about it. But I appreciate that, Mr. Mueller. And Mr. Tarr.
I'm trying to say if Alex is far enough away, he's not kicking me under the table. So
I know we'll go past 11, Louise, if we try and do it point by point now.
I agree. We'll go well past 11, and it's and we've been looking at our screens for a long time, so it's hard.
One thing that just to remind the board, the May 14 letter that we sent was our effort to go through all 34 pages of memos and indicate the very, very few that we couldn't comply with as conditions. But I agree, there's 34 pages of stuff. That's just what happened.
And there's a bunch that's come up tonight that we at least need to understand where we landed.
Yeah.
So you're on our agenda for
the 4th.
Next week, right?
The next week, right? The 4th. Jerry has to work hard all week.
So, Jerry, you would have the draft conditions to the board ahead of that meeting, and
I would hope so. I'm actually starting my vacation out of state on Saturday. but
take it with you. Take it with you.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Okay. Do we have other, well, I guess it doesn't matter whether we have other items on, well, it does matter actually. Would this, I guess this is a question for you, Justin, would going over conditions associated with this application be first on the agenda, or would it, or are there other things that for whatever technical reason have to go before it?
Outside of our normal things like minutes, or I don't think we have any resolutions, the announcements, things like that. This would be the first and only application on the agenda next Thursday.
Okay. All right. And so just for members of the public, the public comment session happened tonight, and we won't reopen public comment next week, but we will go over all of the conditions that were talked about tonight, and and including the conditions that are in the applicant's response letter, which is available on the municipal website if you care to take a look at that. Their responses to all of the staff and municipal committee comments that were given to them last month and earlier this month. Okay.
And Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
there will be no further notice. We're carrying it on the record right now. This
Okay.
is the notice.
Okay. So we'll reconvene June 4th with this and nothing else on the agenda other than routine business. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tarr, and all of your representatives from Toll. Thanks to members of the public for your patience and for your comments and insight. Mr. Cohen?
I move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Yep. Good night.
Good night all.